It is 6:01. Good morning. I'm Jonathan Schaefer from the Superbook.com sports desk. The Denver Broncos have agreed to a trade with the New Orleans Saints that will allow Sean Payton to become Denver's next head coach. The Saints will receive the Broncos' 2023 first-round pick. That's 29th overall, and a 2024 second-round pick for Payton and the Saints' 2024 third-round selection. The Houston Texans have hired San Francisco 49ers defensive coordinator DeMeco Ryans as their new head coach. The deal is for 6 years. The Titans are removing the grass field at Nissan Stadium and replacing it with a synthetic surface before the upcoming season. The team says it is making the switch after reviewing injury rates and the difficulty of growing natural grass at Nissan Stadium since the stadium opened in 1999. Men's college basketball last night, Alabama 101, Vanderbilt 44. Tonight, number 2 Tennessee at Florida, 6 o'clock tip, 5:30 Vol Network pregame, which you can hear on The Zone. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Live from Mobile, it is day number 2 from the 2023 Reese's Senior Bowl. Welcome and good morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, as we continue our coverage here at the Senior Bowl and talk to many more prospects on a very headline-heavy Tuesday and now Wednesday morning in the National Football League. Alongside our 11-year NFL veteran, Ramon Foster, our broadcast veteran whose journalist title is always capitalized with a big J, Kayla Anderson, the best producer in the world, Jonathan Schaefer back at our 104.5 The Zone studios.
Woo! There it is.
And Kirby Allen Kirby making the show happen for us here in Mobile. I'm Will Bowling, where the food is good. And Ramon Foster was asking about squid ink.
Yeah.
Last night in Mobile.
It's a real thing.
It is. We went to that restaurant. It was called, was it the Squid Ink and something else? Mm-hmm. And they will sprinkle some stuff on you.
But it has health benefits.
It does. That's what we found out last night.
Wait a minute. Was it actually called the Squid Ink and something else?
No, that's a good point.
I didn't think that was
We're
the name
doing
of the
a
actual
disservice.
restaurant, okay?
Yeah.
It was just called squid ink.
Oh, my God.
It was something else. It wasn't like a delicatessen or nothing like
Right,
that.
but the way you said it was the Squid Ink and something else, I'm like, that's not what it's called.
That's how it felt a little bit last night, right, y'all?
Squid ink and octopus
Hey.
legs.
Squid Ink and other stuff.
Other stuff. You got options. Plenty of legs is all I'm
Yes,
saying.
and we did. We got calamari
We did get calamari.
with squid ink.
It was Squid Ink on it.
The only thing better than the fine dining industry in Mobile is the antacid industry, which I say once again.
It's a
to
real
begin the
thing.
day.
I'll tell you what, yesterday was a bad day, I think, for all of us, in the sense that nobody food schedule, eating schedule was even close
We didn't eat
to
till...
like just a human standard.
I don't know what you're talking about. I was great. Everything was fine with me.
That's true.
Man, we were rolling yesterday.
Shave doesn't have to wrangle us around the studio, so he can just do whatever he wants.
Yeah, I just had to wake up to ice on my car, unlike you guys.
How
That's
is it?
true.
Well, school's canceled for a lot of the districts around the area.
Yeah.
Had a light layer of ice on my car when I woke up this morning. Not too bad. There's ice on the ground. You got to be wary of bridges and ramps. Those
Yeah.
are the worst parts. But otherwise, the roads, at least where I was coming in from Gallatin, not too bad.
And there's your traffic report, Middle
Right?
Tennessee.
If you are back in Nashville or Middle Tennessee, please drive safely.
Yeah, I saw Clarksville have some bad pileups up 24. It's always bad over
They
there.
got much more of the ice accumulation from
They
the
did.
west. Yeah.
Yep, see? Sheesh. Like Kayla said, be safe, good people.
Yeah, seriously.
Ramona and I were in shorts for the first time on the
Okay.
show for
What
months.
in
Y'all-
the hell? Come on.
Yeah.
Y'all, but can I chime in on
Dies
this?
out.
It is not warm in here.
Oh,
It
it's
is
great.
like
I love it.
air is flowing in here. It's like the studio is sometimes icy cold. So you guys, I guess, are preparing for hours later when we go to practice.
That, and I still wore like a light sweatshirt too. So
Yeah, same.
I'm here for that.
I never get that.
As long as the upper body's warm, then I'm good.
Okay.
We got cold yesterday in that restaurant too, man.
Moan asked the waitress too about it. He's
I
like,
did.
"Yo, is it always this cold in
Ramon
here?"
will ask the waitress about literally anything in the world.
Her tattoo on her
while we
arm.
are sitting there just starving. Like, we've ordered all this food. Everyone's like, "Y'all always keep it freezing in here." And in the middle of her answer, be like, "How long did you get those tattoos?" And it's like,
he's like, "I have one
dude,
too."
I had one lunch today, and it was a moon pie.
And Will said it too.
And I literally said, Ramon, I am so hungry. Like, this is not it. Save the 20 questions for the prospects we talk to tomorrow.
Absolutely not.
I was on the Kirby Allen Kirby eating schedule, which is one big meal and a couple of snacks throughout the day and cups of coffee and or Pepsi.
My guy was hangry.
That's a good way to live.
Will was hangry
I
out
wasn't
here.
even angry. I was Hanoid is what I was. I wasn't hangry.
Well,
I love
Ramon
that.
was just trying to be a nice person, trying to. Our waitress, by the way, was great. She was awesome.
He was trying to be a journalist. Like, forget being a nice person. It was just like, and how do you feel about that? Like, Ramon was either auditioning to be this poor girl's therapist or interviewer.
I asked about the tattoos. Like, she had a whole sleeve. I was just like, did you do all that at once? And then I was like, well, I went 8 hours on mine. No, they pieced it together, though. It was pretty cool. The one-arm sleeve thing is pretty sweet to me. I think that's usually pretty unique because tattoos used to be so taboo. You have a tattoo? I remember, like, people like, don't get a tattoo on your forearm. You'd be like, okay. And now you see your executives around here with tattoos on their forearms. So
who's got a tat?
Who's got a tat?
An exec, yeah.
No, I'm just saying, like, I know plenty of business people that have like fully like sleeve tattoos.
I just wanted you to name someone.
Okay, all right, I'll start finding Dana White.
Well, that's
he's
different.
You said name one. Now we're moving.
UFC.
Now we're moving the goalposts. I know plenty of people that that have
octagon.
that.
Wait, no. We're not moving the goalpost. This is my worst favorite version of Ramones right now. What she was saying was, like, someone locally, someone that we might know, someone you would say from Middle Tennessee, Dana White. Well, no kidding. Of course it would be Dana White. Why wouldn't it be?
Nothing came up.
Yeah, do
All
better.
I'm saying.
Thought.
Okay, nice freaking cup. Like, that's going to get you any caffeine. It's like a teaspoon.
It is.
Mr.
Teaspoon
Teaspoon Boy over
Teaspoon
here.
boy. You know what? I forgot my cup in the truck this morning, so I'm grabbing the community coffee. Okay.
Community coffee is actually pretty good around here.
Is it?
You like community, but not Folgers?
I mean, based on whoever's making it in our studio, no, I don't like Folgers.
Will.
I don't have an issue with Folgers. I have an issue with whoever the barista is in Cumulus National.
I think what the issue is. We need bigger filters.
If I wanted jet fuel,
Yes.
I would have stopped in Huntsville and hung out with Joe Hunk before the show yesterday.
Joe Hees?
when we were driving through, or 2 days
That's
ago.
a heck of a drive.
That's a crazy drive, man. Crazy.
Shout out to Joe Heasy for that one.
Yeah.
Sheesh.
615-737-1045 our number. Tons of headlines to get to as we started the show yesterday with 4 coaching vacancies in the NFL. We start today with 2 coaching vacancies in the National Football League. Conflicting reports on whether or not Denver wanted DeMeco Ryans. Ian Rappaport saying they did,
Oh, boy.
and then Adam Schefter saying they didn't. And that Sean Payton was always their guy, but DeMeco Ryans is now in the AFC South, and Sean Payton is riding in Denver with Russell Wilson.
That's going to be interesting.
It is, man. But I think Russ needed a head coach like Sean. I say Sean McVay. Goodness,
Sean Payton, yeah.
Sean
He needs
Payton.
one like him too.
Yeah,
Right?
he does need one like him. This is going to be an interesting matchup with both of those two guys, though, man, because Sean Payton's method has proven to work.
Yep.
Russell Wilson has also proven to work, and it seemed like both of them last year were out of work with the way Russell played. So, if for anything, he needs to do or team up with Sean Payton as much as he possibly can, because a lot of people are going to start looking at that first Super Bowl and be like, hey, maybe it was his defense, as Russ is not that good.
Mm-hmm. And that's the biggest thing now. You've got a proven head coach that's coming in, not Nathaniel Hackett, who
Right.
was like, had a little bit of questions about him. Maybe Russell wasn't the original quarterback he thought he was going to get.
Yep.
Now there's no questions, right?
None.
We saw that Russell digressed last year, but now when you're getting in a proven head coach like Sean Payton. Why do I keep saying that too?
Yeah,
and he's worked with a future like Hall of Fame quarterback
Yep,
Drew Brees.
Same stature, too, in the sense of,
You've got to believe that if it doesn't turn around this year, like, Russ is in big trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Russ is riding on out of NFL.
They may actually get him a Bronco.
Yeah.
The animal version.
I think it'll work.
Yeah.
I think it'll work, but Russ has got to be able to be a little less stubborn in the way that everything's about Russ Wilson.
Yep.
It's got to be about more than that.
Well, we'll continue that conversation as the show goes on today, and also have the conversation about the big headline for the Tennessee Titans yesterday, turf in Nissan Stadium.
Boy, did that stir up some people.
Yeah.
And that's a big discussion, and we'll give you the exact details on exactly what Nissan Stadium's new playing surface will look like and the reasoning behind this move for the organization. But today is Media Day here in Mobile at the 2023 Reese's Senior Bowl, so we're going to have a ton of prospects walking through. We'll see who stops by the table. We've got a long list of guys we're hoping to talk with, including Tennessee's Hendon Hooker, Fresno State quarterback Jake Haener, who we talked a little bit about yesterday, Byron Young, Darnell Wright from Tennessee, and a couple of other names on the offensive line that Ramon wants to chop it up with, who could be fits for the Tennessee Titans this upcoming draft class. Scheduled to be joined by Rhett Bryan at 8:20, Titans radio broadcasting just a few tables down from us. So we'll try to work out a time with him, but tentatively looking forward to talking with him at 8:20, see who he talked with yesterday and early this morning. And then our conversation with the GM coming up here in just a couple of minutes. If you missed it yesterday morning, we'll replay our comments with Rand Carthon, who I thought was really good yesterday.
Yeah,
he really was. Yeah.
He has a personality. Definitely an in-depth dude, man. Every conversation I've heard with him has been pretty legit, so he's solid.
I think it's just really cool. We met him at the press conference just briefly. He came in and spoke to the media before the presser, but we didn't get a one-on-one feel for him. But here, before we had him on, we got to shake his hand and kind of say hi. He took some pictures with us afterward. But I love the fact that he is an approachable person.
Yeah.
So he is a general manager of the Tennessee Titans, but yet you can feel like you can approach him. You can talk football with him, but you can also talk just different things.
Yeah, you can.
Just life in general. And I think that's the vibe hopefully the listeners got yesterday from that interview, because we tried to chalk it up with him a little bit, just in terms of the regular things from day to day, from the shoes to the outfits, but also the business that all Titans fans want to know about, and that's football. And I thought the relationship with him and Mike Vrabel seems to be getting off on a good foot.
Right.
Well, a good conversation with Rand Carthon coming up next. Plenty of prospects to talk to today at the Senior Bowl, and we are here in Mobile thanks to our friends at Scoreboard Bar and Grill, Two Rivers Ford, and Mitsubishi Electric as we broadcast live. And the Buck Rising Show is live here as well at the Mobile Convention Center at the Reese's Senior Bowl. Rand Carthon on the other side. Our first sit-down conversation with the new GM of the Tennessee Titans. Next on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, 104.5 The Zone.
If you want to be a real hero this Valentine's Day, you gotta get to Genesis Diamonds. Genesis makes it easy with the total romance package. It's the jewelry, the flowers, the candy, and the dinner. All the key ingredients for a memorable Valentine's celebration. And here's how it works. When you buy any piece of jewelry for just $99 or more, Genesis will give you a bouquet of flowers from Jenny's Flowers and a gift card towards dinner at STK Steakhouse. You know, Genesis specializes in romance. They have the lasting and timeless gifts that reflect and celebrate your love. This year, they've pulled together some wonderful Valentine's gifts, including rings, earrings, pendants, bracelet, bands, affordable, quality gifts that will be a hit. And, of course, if you get engaged this Valentine's Day, Genesis can create the ring of her dreams with dazzling GIA diamonds and designer mounts, unlimited possibilities. Bring the sparkle and the romance with one-stop shopping at Genesis. Spend just $99 or more, and you'll get the flowers, the chocolate, and a gift card for dinner free. Happy Valentine's Day from Genesis Diamonds in Green Hills and Cool Springs. Limited quantities, and see store for details.
Wednesday morning from Mobile. Welcome back to the Reese's Senior Bowl coverage that we've got here for you live on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. Thanks to our friends at Scoreboard Bar and Grill, Two Rivers Ford, and Mitsubishi Electric as we sit down with the new general manager of the Tennessee Titans, Rand Carthon, for the first time. And you'll hear him tell us that he's still getting used to being introduced that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hadn't settled in on him just yet, Will. That's cool.
We'll give our takeaways of what he had to say after we revisit our conversation. But right now, we go to our first sit-down interview with the new general manager of your Tennessee Titans here in Mobile. Here is Rand Carthon. We are pleased to be joined by Tennessee Titans general manager Rand Carthon, sitting down with us here in Mobile. What's going on, Rand? Good morning.
Good morning. I'm still getting used to that introduction.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, it's been cool. Just feel like really welcome,
That's
being in Nashville and, still getting my bearings, still haven't been to too many places outside of the facility and the hotel, but, I'm excited. Still, that excitement is still there.
Well, I want to congratulate you first on making it out of the boom boom room as well in your first visit on the station. I don't know if we're going to be quite as hard hitting as Ron Slay was in your first conversation on the station, but we're glad you made it out alive.
Yeah, I think it was a couple questions in there. Ron tried to set me up. I was like, man, I hadn't even been in Nashville 24 hours, and you're trying to get me banished already. So I had to hold my own and make it out.
Well, you didn't let us out as far as Tennessee fans go.
So
go ahead, run it.
I didn't hear this part.
Let's bring it back because we were talking about this off air.
We were.
Okay. So it was a setup, right? Because you had me choose between Miami, Florida State, and Tennessee. He threw Tennessee in there because he wanted to set me up with a fan base. So I could have easily sent UT into
the abyss. Yeah.
But I at least let UT live.
You did.
And at least we know where UT is. It's in the basement.
Well, Rand, just real quick, if we're not, for folks that don't know, who won last year? Do you remember that one?
Was that COVID year? I can't
Still
remember.
A little foggy.
I just got hired. I got so many things on my mind. I'm at the Senior Bowl. I've talked to so many players. I can't remember.
That's what we're doing. Deflection at all-time high here.
You talked with us at your opening press conference about your first order of business was really just getting to know head coach Mike Vrabel over the next couple of weeks, and now you have the chance to do this on the road in a much bigger setting when you're actually evaluating players. Right. What's it been like getting to know him, and how much do you just feel like you guys have been able to collaborate early on?
Well, it's been great. We make a conscious effort to spend time together every day, whether it's talking through roster, whether it's just talking through life. He's been a confidant for me in terms of, areas to live, potential schools, and he and his wife, Jen, have been great to my wife and I. So that was, the first piece of it. And then from a football perspective, we're just constantly talking, constantly bouncing ideas off of each other. And I think the biggest thing I've learned about Mike is very perceptive. And you kind of think you know what Mike Vrabel is by watching him on TV, but I think he's a lot more knowledgeable than people give him credit for. I think he's perceptive. I think he understands this process that we're going through right now, which makes it easier for me to do my job.
And how much could you kind of even bond over both kind of knowing the game, playing at the NFL level, and just the football knowledge, I feel like would bring you guys together even more?
Yeah, I think it creates that common ground, and like I said in the presser, it was our base of football, our foundation of football basically comes from the same tree. So, him having, his time in Pittsburgh, his time in New England, and my, under Belichick came under Parcells. That's who my dad played for, who my dad worked for, and who, my dad is my influence in football. So our foundation is generally the same, so we see it kind of the same way.
Ryan, I thought it was very interesting, and one of the first things you said when asked the question is you got to learn Mike Vrabel. I think a lot of people can look at that and be like, well, what does that mean? You're going to do exactly as Vrabel, says? Explain to them exactly what that means, because your partnership, your collaboration, and you learning Vrabel is y'all's relationship as far as how successful you're going to be.
Right, and like I've said and like I'll keep saying, the one way I saw it work the best was with Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch.
Sure.
And those two guys are joined at the hip. They're in lockstep, and they don't always agree, but there's a common ground that they can find to make the best decision for the organization. And again, Mike's been here for 5 years. Mike's offense is what it is, his defense is what it is, special teams is what it is, and it's my job to execute the vision and find those players that fit that. And the best way for me to do that as the new guy coming in is to establish my relationship with them, and then understand what we want to build, understand what it looks like to play right tackle for a Mike Vrabel team. So I have to come in and learn those ways, and again, I think when it all boils down to it, I think people are always looking from a who's in charge and makes it an ego thing, and that's not who I am.
Yeah. Yep.
And again, like, I could be the greatest talent evaluator there ever was, but if I'm bringing players to our team that don't fit what we want to do, then it's not going to work. And so that's my job, is to get to know Mike, understand what makes Mike tick, what Mike's looking for in players, and then that way my staff and we can go out and hunt and bring that back to Mike and his staff.
Titans GM Rand Carthon with us this morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Rand, I love the video of you grading Derrick Henry's outfit.
I know, right?
Going into the stadium. The follow-up I have to that is, have you been able to get an invite to work out with Derrick yet, with all the stuff that he's doing?
I want no parts of that, right? Those days are over. But no, it's funny. I've been reaching out, really getting to know a lot of the guys, and Derrick and I, we were on the phone, I guess it was last week, had a really good conversation. It was, 20 minutes or so, and then probably about 15, 20 minutes after we got off the phone, I got a text about that video. And he was like, hey, man, I saw you, judging, my drip. He was like, now I get to watch and see what type of drip you have. So I assured him that I need to step my game up.
And wait, was it George Foster who told us that you don't always dress that way?
He said you a fraud with the clothes, man.
No, so let me preface by saying,
let's get this straight.
When I'm in the building, I like to be comfortable.
Okay.
Yes.
Right? Like, I'm not coming in knotted up,
absolutely,
sitting at my desk for umpteen hours watching tape. There's a time and a place to put on clothes.
Okay.
Okay.
I like that philosophy.
Fair enough.
But I am a sweats, hoodie, and slide guy.
Yeah.
However, there's a time and a place to. So I still have stuff in my closet that I hadn't worn. That if you ask my wife, we need to have a garage sale. We need to, get rid of. I was FaceTiming my wife the other night, and she's in the closet and she's walking to my side. I'm like, hey, what are you doing? and she was like, I'm just trying to find. I'm pruning. I was like, don't touch.
I know where it's at.
Stuff, like,
right.
But yeah, I'm gonna have to call Big Foster.
I knew you'd get riled up. I was gonna bring that
He's
up to
a problem, man. You hear me? He's a problem out
Listen,
here.
I talk to that dude every day, and it's every day is new with George. It's always some shenanigans or something going on with him. Yeah.
What are you guys looking for here at the Senior? I mean, look at all the talent that's out there and just the amount of time you get to spend with these guys this week, talking with them. What are you guys looking for as a Titans organization?
I think you just hit on the biggest thing, is getting to talk to these guys, right?
Yeah.
The tape is the tape. We've had time. Our area guys have done an amazing job, pouring through the tape, identifying, the players, and then we're going to still have a couple more months to get through the tape. I think this is important, to have the guys in front of you and to answer some of those hotbed questions, to really get to know them, get your hands on them, get a feel for them, because you don't always get that, from my view, from Mike's view. So I think it's awesome that Mike is here and he's participating in the interviews, and so, he can ask his pointed questions, or, just guys that he wants to get a better feel for. So I think the interview setting is really key for us right now, because at the end of the day, the tape is the tape, and we'll have plenty of time to pour through that and make the correct decisions, but making sure that we're finding the right people, separating the player and the person, making sure we're finding the right people for us.
And I love the story you told about Elijah Mitchell and that draft process and identifying him in San Francisco, a Senior Bowl guy, and Elijah Mitchell, who was going through this process at his time as well. What are those personality traits you and Mike are looking for in players? What specifically about these guys do you want to learn in this interview process?
You just want to learn, do you love football? That's one of the things you want to learn. Do you love football? You want to talk to them about their work ethic. And then it's another opportunity to get them in front of, let's talk X's and O's. Let's see how much you really know. Let's see where your baseline, knowledge is and where we're getting it from that standpoint. And then having guys like, James Mitchell here with us, kind of really dig in deep into the person, learning what, their background, learning how these different guys came up so we can, best surround them with all the proper tools to make them successful.
I'm curious, too, with the amount of super seniors you have in this process and guys who are 24 or 25 years old, do you feel like you can have even more advanced conversations now with this group and with these past couple of groups, just considering some of them have played for 5-6 years?
Yeah, but then again, yes, a 25-year-old, 24-year-old is going to be a little bit further along from a maturity standpoint than a 21, 22-year-old. But nonetheless, these guys are still college guys,
right.
Coming straight from the college scene. So, a person of my age, you have to be aware of that, and know that there is going to be a little bit of a disconnect. However, again, it goes back to, do you love football? Are you a worker? How clean are you off the field? I firmly believe in, they're only players when they're in the building.
Yeah.
And they're people outside. So you got to get to know the person just as well as you know the player.
So when it comes down to this setting, now is the opportunity for you to figure out, do they love football, how they compete, watching the practices, the one-on-ones. What position groups are the ones that you say they're going to get the most out of this? Is it O-line versus D-line? Is it secondary guys that you can say, well, his 40 might be a 4.6 as a DB, but it don't look like that on the field? Is that where you get this?
I don't think there's short answer, yes. Because we look at it as there's time, speed, and play speed.
Okay.
And you know this.
Yeah.
And some of that doesn't necessarily have to do with I think a lot of it has to do with their instincts, how well they see things. If you're instinctive, you can do things a little bit quicker because you're not thinking.
Right.
Because there have been guys that ran 4.3 that might have played 4.5 because they can't think and move at that rate of speed.
Yeah.
I don't think there's one position over the other that it's like, oh, this is the best position to watch. I think it's year to year in terms of draft class, which positions are stronger than others. Down here you got best on best. So I think it's about seeing the competition, seeing who's stepping up. You kind of usually see it. I remember the one battle I remember seeing here at Senior Bowl was when Aaron Donald came out. And so you had Aaron Donald and you had Zach Martin. And so those two guys had some real battles.
It got violent.
Well, it was, it's just the way they play.
Yeah,
you know
it
what
is.
I mean? And Aaron being a technician and Zach being a technician, and they had some real battles. And we were talking about it at that time, both guys were potential top 10 picks, and for them to step up. And it wasn't like, okay, they went one rep against each other. There was 3-4 reps throughout the week where they got work, with each other. So you want to see those guys who are going to, step up and want to rise and face the best guy who they think is the best guy.
And how much can you evaluate on just, like you said, picking things up quickly, making adjustments on the fly? How can they take to coaching? Because you're seeing it firsthand. Yeah,
so it's in these conversations, it's in these informal meetings. Simply asking a question. Hey, what are you looking to work on this week? And you guy may, hey, I want to be able to show them that, I can transition speed to power. So now that I know that, when you're doing the drill, now I want to see you working those techniques, not only in individual, when you get in one-on-one, when you get in a team setting, to see if their perception of themselves and what they feel they need to work on, if they're actually working on it or if it's just lip service.
Yeah.
Rand Carthon with us here on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Just kind of on the way out, so cool to see this event grow so much. I know Jim Nagy said every player is going to meet with all 32 teams, which we said was kind of like speed dating in the NFL a little bit earlier this morning. But how cool has it kind of been to just watch this event grow over the years? Man,
it's been amazing. Jim's done like a fantastic job, growing this event, making it it's huge. And it means so much to, the city of Mobile, and you can see it and feel it. And then, it becomes the premier event where all the top guys want to be.
Right.
Coming out of college, you want to get, obviously you want to get a combine invite, but this game is, whether, give or take, is seen as the best. And so guys want to be here, and it makes it easier for us to come here and, all the quote unquote top rated guys are here under one roof because of the event that Jim's built.
Now, Rand, I know you're in a new position, man, and you're GM, and, the hierarchy's a little bit different now. I know you said when you flew back to San Francisco, you went commercial. Okay, you FaceTime your wife in the terminal. I'm thinking to myself, that ain't Rand no more, man. How big was the jet on the way down? That's all I got for you, Rand.
Well, you know what? It was more so cool because my kids got to experience it.
Cool.
That's awesome. And that was a moment. It was a moment on the plane. It was myself, my wife, and my agent. We were in the front handling business, and I'm looking at my 4-year-old, my 5-year-old, and they're just moving around, and I'm just watching them like this is cool for them at that age to experience this. I don't even know if they understand the magnitude of it, but it was just a cool thing to experience, and watching my teenage daughters just kind of just be them, and it was, like I said, man, I can ramble about it, but it was just cool for my kids to experience.
Yeah.
I just don't want them to have in their mind that this is going to become the norm, because moving forward, Southwest 81 through 15.
Get those points going.
Business select.
It fits us just fine.
I'm with you, man. And again, you came dripped in J's. I know one of your real good friends in this industry, and I know he's a Jordan guy, man, Brendan Hunt. Who got the freshest closet is all I'm asking.
Oh, me.
That's what I was looking for.
That's not even fair.
That's not
Shout
even
out to your wife, though, for coordinating the family, Jay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's, that was her concept. Because she called me and asked, FaceTime me, hey, what do you think about these? I was like, she had the kid shoe.
Yeah.
I was like, yo, give me a pair. I want the lows. And she was like, yeah, she was like, but you want the low? I was like, yes, I want the lows.
That's
but
awesome.
Please don't ever compare my closet to B. Hunt's closet.
Straight up.
It's not.
See, if you were ever wondering that you had a competitor in the front office, you do. By the way, at the presser, I was there. Me and Kayla were both there, and I'll say this. I saw Vrabel. I don't think I played against Vrabes as a player, but I was just like, oh, okay, Vrabe, you might win a bar fight or two is all I was just thinking,
You're always
man.
sizing up defensive
I'm
linemen.
always sizing up D linemen, okay?
Listen, I don't think, you're a big dude.
Yeah.
I rock with you. I don't think that's the smoke you want.
No, see what I'm saying. See, Rand, that's what you're supposed to say now. Now you're going to get the other side here for a minute.
I'm just saying.
I'm just letting you know that, look, I'm choosing y'all two versus any other front office.
Me too.
Is all I'm saying.
in.
We with it. We could be the Road Warriors or tag team champs. That might be a cool thing after the draft. I might need to get us some tag team belts.
So there's our sit-down conversation with new Titans general manager Rand Carthon, and some takeaways from that. One specifically about an answer he gave that I think came straight from Mike Vrabel that I want to emphasize coming up after this. It's Ramon, Kayla, and Will live from Mobile at the Senior Bowl on 104.5 The Zone.
I know who you are. You're the ones who walk around in the yard every day getting mad when you see weeds. You obsessively care about your grass. Your spouses and friends tell you that you talk about your grass more than anything else, and you want to be the envy of your neighbors. Listen, I'm talking to you. And I'm talking to me because I'm that guy too. But right now is the time to start applying crabgrass and broadleaf control to your lawn. And I have the people you need to call. They are Secure Lawn. There is no one better. Right now they are celebrating serving Middle Tennessee for 20 years. And lawns is what they do, and they are good at it. So if you know, you need to call Secure Lawn. But if you need your trees trimmed or shrubs planted, you need to call someone else. Because Secure Lawn doesn't do all that. But if you want your grass looking like something that's out of a magazine, if you need lawn fertilizer and weed control, you need Secure Lawn. It's family owned and operated, and it's local. They don't make you sign any kind of contracts. In fact, if you are unhappy with your service, they will do everything they can to make it right. And if you're still unhappy, they will give you your money back on your last treatment. This is unheard of customer service. Secure Lawn, the best ones around. So get a head start on your yard and call Secure Lawn. The number is 615-893-8455 or go to securelawn.com.
Live from Mobile for the 2023 Reese's Senior Bowl. It's Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. With Ramon Foster and Kayla Anderson, I'm Will Bowling. Good conversation with Titans general manager Rand Carthon. And, guys, you can tell that he's already spent a lot of time around Mike Vrabel because he's already sounding a little bit more like Mike Vrabel. When we ask the question of what personality traits are you looking for in these interviews, what questions do you want to ask, he gave a classic Mike Vrabel line. Well, do you love football?
Are you a football guy?
And that's the exact question that Mike Vrabel mentioned after the failed Isaiah Wilson experiment. When he said, you know what, we're just looking for guys that love ball.
Yep.
There you go.
You know what? That makes sense, though, because there's a lot that goes into, like, some people – this is the reality of I think, all sports and especially professional, too. Not everybody's intentions are the same. Some people play this sport because, one, they're just that good at it, and they know they're that good at it, and the game is somewhat easy for some guys. So guess what they do? It's like, man, I'll do this to get the check. There's some guys that won't admit it, but they play for the check too, and there's some guys that will lay all out and truly enjoy and love every aspect of it. I think every player has love for the game, but some people are just really in love with it. And I think those are the players that they're searching for. Like, whatever the cause and purpose of the team is what we're into. Some guys make what we like to call sometimes business decisions. Well, I'm going to choose not to go this week, or, man, I'm only required to be in the building until 4 o'clock today. I'm here from 6 to 4 o'clock. What do you want me to do? I'm not bringing film home with me, and I think that's what the coaches are looking for, at least what Rand and Vrabel are looking for. So that does, seem like that's a conversation that they've had.
We've always heard from people, when they're talking about this Titans team under Mike Vrabel, they take on the characteristics, the personality of their head coach, Mike Vrabel. Look at his career. Like, that guy's a grinder.
Yeah.
That guy didn't have everything handed to him. He went to Ohio State, but he earned that.
Yeah.
He worked his butt off in the league. He did a little bit of everything at times, and that's kind of what he wants out of the guys that he brings on this team. Yeah, not every single guy is going to be like that, but first and foremost, it starts with, do you love ball?
Yeah, and I
Period.
can say this, too. The other side of that would be, yes, that's kind of, medieval in a sense when it comes down to, like, hey, you got to use the technology. And I think that's something that they definitely have to focus on moving forward, because everybody, I think, will at least write one piece or have one story about the back-to-back seasons of that many people on IR, injured reserve. So I think you can have that method, but you got to make sure you take care of your guys. And maybe that football mindset, guys that love football, are guys that, when they're healthy, they're going all out for you. Vrabel do have to protect his soldiers, though.
I think the question is, can you make a guy that doesn't naturally love ball, can you instill that in someone? Or is that just a personality trait you either have or don't have?
Well, it didn't happen with Isaiah Wilson.
No, it did not.
Well, I'll say this. You surround them with people that will. Like, when we had young guys we can tell string along, like, it became like a team mindset. Hey, get the young fella. Let's bring him into the fold. But like you said, with Isaiah's situation, he was on his own thing.
They tried to, you guys. They
tried,
gave him several opportunities.
He had that guidance. And there's nothing wrong with saying we want football players,
We'll wrap it up hour one here this morning, live from Mobile, Alabama, for the 2023 Reese's Senior Bowl. And coming up next, we'll see who stops by the table as Media Day begins here at the Mobile Convention Center. Lots of players who we are hoping to talk to throughout the show today. We're scheduled to sit down with Rhett Bryan coming up at 8:20. Lots more still to come as we hit the NFL headlines and potentially have this discussion about the new playing surface in Nissan Stadium. Coming up next as hour two begins on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, 104.5 The Zone.
Everybody's talking about regenerative medicine now because people who have joint pain are getting real lasting relief without drugs or surgery. Head Ramon Foster, QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in this exciting treatment, where they use a highly concentrated healing agents from your own body to restore and repair damaged joint tissue. And if you have an ongoing joint pain from arthritis or injury, you need to call QC Kinetics. And don't assume that steroids and surgery are your only options. Times have changed, and regenerative medicine can get you moving again with no downtime. Stop taking them pain meds and discover this remarkable alternative that pro athletes have been using for years. Thanks to QC Kinetics, this amazing treatment option is now available for folks like you and me who are sick and tired of joint pain. So don't put this off any longer. Spring is coming, and you want to enjoy all that life has to offer. Call QC Kinetics now at 615-249-4024. You get a free consultation with your local medical professionals. The number is 615-249-4024.
It is 7 o'clock. Good morning. I'm Jonathan Schaefer from the Superbook.com sports desk. The Denver Broncos have agreed to a trade with the New Orleans Saints that will allow Sean Payton to become Denver's next head coach. The Saints will receive the Broncos' first-round pick this season, second-round pick next year. In exchange, Payton and the Saints' 2024 third-round selection. Houston Texans have hired San Francisco 49ers defensive coordinator D'Amico Ryans as their new head coach. The deal is for 6 years. The Titans are removing the grass field at Nissan Stadium and replacing it with a synthetic surface before the upcoming season. The team says it is making the switch after reviewing injury rates and the difficulty of growing natural grass at Nissan Stadium since it opened in 1999. Men's college basketball last night. Alabama 101, Vanderbilt 44. Tonight, number 2 Tennessee at Florida, 6 o'clock tip. 5:30 Vol Network pregame right here on The Zone. And to the association, Portland at Memphis with a 6 o'clock tip this evening. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Into hour number 2 this morning, live from Mobile, Alabama. We are Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. A good Wednesday morning to you in the Music City as we continue to hit the NFL headlines and get the big headline from Nissan Stadium yesterday on the new surface inside Nissan Stadium that will be put down for the upcoming 2023 season. Alongside 11-year NFL veteran, Vol for Life, Ramon Foster, our broadcast veteran whose J is always capitalized, Kayla Anderson, and the best producer in the world, Jonathan Schaefer, back at our 104.5 The Zone studios.
The best producer in the world!
In the world. I'm Will Bowling. The phone number 615-737-1045 as players make their way inside the Mobile Convention Center.
We got a few here.
On Media Day at the Senior Bowl.
Rhett Bryan is talking. Can you see who that is?
I cannot see who it is. You know how football players are, man. You don't notice us without our
your
jerseys
stuff on
and helmets on. You know, basketball players, you get the face value for it all the time. Not the guy behind the mask.
I think that might just be lineman, Mo. I'm not going to lie to you.
Oh, no. He's starting this.
Oh, now. Okay. All right. Y'all know I hadn't talked offensive line all morning, but me and Coach Mac been exchanging formalities on information. So I'll get started on the O-line talk if y'all want me to. I'll hold back.
No, we got
good.
plenty of time for that.
We're good.
Oh, now you're good.
Right.
Okay.
No, we were
Maybe
good
on the
before.
drive home tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah, we're good.
Well, the fact that, the Titans need a couple, you know what? Y'all need me right now. And I'm not ashamed to say that.
You're not only not ashamed to say it, you're very thrilled to say it.
I really am thrilled to say
Here's
it.
the problem.
What's
we know
that?
we need you, Ramon. You don't have to remind everybody.
But y'all can't just crap on the O-line like that.
Okay, first of
we
all,
matter.
timeout. We have talked about the O-line every week, 4 days a week.
Okay.
We have not crapped on them.
Okay.
We have actually said how important they are.
I mean,
We spent the entire practice with the National League yesterday watching the O-linemen. Did we
that's
not?
because they were most interesting yesterday.
I would not disagree. No, honestly, I learned
They
some
were.
new things yesterday from you. I thought we did a good job breaking down the guys we did see.
We did. I really put Kayla through a crash course yesterday with the O-line versus D-line stuff. We figured out some stuff yesterday. Kayla's going to be a pro by the time we get back to Nashville.
Maybe a scout.
Kayla's been a pro for a long time.
I mean, but just she'll
Long
probably
time.
be able to scout. Yeah, Rand might actually offer a job after she leaves Mobile this week.
Ramon,
okay?
Kayla and I went pro in something other than sports. all right? We've been pros.
What else you been pro?
Those
in,
commercials used to make me so sad. Like when I was a kid, I was like, well, why can't they go pro in sports? And then I became a college athlete. It was like, oh, that's why.
You figured out you had your limitations.
figured
It's
out
not
that I
for
was-
everyone,
I was
William.
my Achilles said, you're going to go pro in something other than sports. 615-737-1045. We'll take a couple phone calls coming up here in a minute. But a new look to Nissan Stadium.
Yeah.
Artificial turf coming in. Cutting-edge field turf that will be installed in time for the 2023 season. Burke Nihill, Mike Vrabel, similar comments yesterday, just echoing the fact that this is what they feel like maximizes the health and safety of all the players in Nissan Stadium, not just the Titans, and will be the same or a similar surface to what is currently inside the team's indoor practice facility at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park.
Which is also new.
Yes.
So.
Yes.
That's right.
What do you think, Ramon? Because there's been a lot of kind of feedback from Titans fans, and it was more so like, what are they doing?
I know, man. And one, the data has to prove why people hate it. Okay, I'll just throw that out there. I think it's the perception of what turf is. I know in my older years, I didn't like practicing on turf. Playing on turf was never a bother to me. You know what I'm saying? Because it's one game, and I think that's okay. The day-to-day practice fields is all grass at the practice facility, so you save there. My thing is, and I'll just play devil's advocate when it comes down to it, I know a bunch of people hate the idea of turf, but the other side of this is, what about when players tear their ACLs on grass, natural surfaces? Like, is there a conversation to be had about that too? So the ACL injuries is I know it gets highlighted somewhat because of turf, but I don't think it's necessarily the only reason guys tear their ACLs on turf, though, because it does happen on grass.
We're also not talking about the turf from the 1970s.
No.
I mean, we're talking about turf that every year there's new research that's coming out to make it better. I know that you've kind of done a little research on the two types of turf, specifically what the Titans decided to go with. And remember, this is a stadium that's probably only going to be up for another few years at the most, and so then you could be going to a different turf in the brand new stadium with even more technology. So I don't think it's as crazy of a thing as everybody is thinking. I think Mike Vrabel is not going to go and say, hey, let's get turf in here, and Rand Carthon isn't going to be like, yeah, let's do that, if it's not going to be safe for players. Like, that is the bottom line.
And Jim Wyatt had a story about this on TennesseeTitans.com, and essentially said because Nashville is located in a transition climate zone, the ability to provide a consistent, durable playing surface has been a struggle for this team it really since 1999. And even made the comment in his piece about this on Titans.com that during the 2018 through 2021 seasons, Nissan Stadium consistently had amongst the highest lower body injuries of any stadium across the league. I think anybody that's seen that surface in the month of December specifically, think back to that Dolphins game when Tua Tagovailoa and the Dolphins were in Nissan Stadium right after Tennessee had just played Purdue in the Music City Bowl, and how rough that surface looked at that point. You might be taking more of a risk with this at the beginning of the season. I think by the end of the season, you're upgrading pretty substantially, which to me makes this worth trying something else. The other thing, guys, when the Titans build a new stadium, as that plan continues to progress, if you want to host a college football playoff, if you want to host a Super Bowl, you're going to have to likely have that kind of surface indoors in your new stadium anyway. This gives you more data points to see and to confirm that this is the safest option for your team, because obviously everything's going to have to be as state-of-the-art as possible in order to host a Super Bowl or a New Year's Six bowl game like I think the Music City Bowl aspires to be.
Yeah, and again, every surface has its negative side. I'll say this. I know the cost of maintaining the natural grass in a place like Tennessee, I know it does run up a little bit, so you got to look at that aspect of it and try to get some understanding of, look, there is budgets when it comes down to teams too, and like the process of stripping that turf inside a Nissan field and then re-sodding it and rolling it down and try to overwater it. The process itself, it's just it's a lot, and that could be taxing. And then when you don't have the surface that's already reattached to the dirt, you find yourself with slippage and gaps and stuff like that. So this at least gives you the consistency of knowing what the playing surface is going to be. And again, I can't stress enough that the technology is way different than it was before. And again, the other side of it is, what about the injuries that happen on natural grass, you know?
Yeah, and I love getting your perspective because you played clearly and you've been on turf and natural grass. I'm curious to, once we get into camp and everything to ask these guys about it and just to get their opinions, because everybody's different. I feel like, Ramon, like you said, person to person, but it is what it is, right?
Yeah,
it's what's going to happen.
And again, the everyday surface that the guys are on, unless it's bad weather, it is natural grass. So
yeah.
I think a lot of people think about, too, Tennessee fans remember the 1990 John Ward call of in the downpour when they had all that rain on the artificial surface at Knoxville, and you've got just oceans across the field. Like, you've got puddles everywhere. So it's new technology, and, again, we've had this conversation before that there are many advancements that industry will still even make by the time the Titans have a new stadium. If we're talking about 3-4 years down the road, it's hard for us to really predict what turf looks like at that point, because it seems like there's something new with this every year or two in the NFL.
It is, man. And, of course, you're going with a new indoor stadium anyway. It's going to be turf there, as you said, and this is, to me, giving you at least the consistency of knowing on game day you won't have those types of issues, and that matters. You have a coach that played football that's behind it also, and, of course, this is just a substitute for what's to come down the line. I think it's going to be fair for them. Of course, you got a fast guy on your team, their speed is definitely going to get maximized a little bit better too.
615-737-1045 is our number. Got a little bit of time before we hopefully are able to catch up with a couple of players.
Yeah, we might have to actually go grab them, guys.
Meeting one-on-one with the media across the hallway from us in the ballroom. I want to get Ramon's takeaways from practice yesterday, too. A couple of names on guys who impressed at the first Senior Bowl practice between the American and the national teams, and, of course, practice again this afternoon over here at the University of South Alabama, which has a great new facility, by the way.
I was so impressed. I actually ran into a former man on the Prattville High School coaching staff that now runs things here at South Alabama, and I just bumped into him and I said, "You guys have a beautiful facility." I looked up and I said, "My goodness, I recognize this man." And I said, "Wait, weren't you in Montgomery?" He goes, "I was at Prattville for 2 years, back-to-back state championships." He said, 15 years later, here we are.
And there y'all are.
But I just said, "What a great stadium." He said, "Yeah, we're just enjoying the heck out of it." And they're so proud to host, too.
Yeah, no doubt.
It is beautiful.
Turf was good. The stadium looks really good. And
Yeah.
I know, people talk about those check games that smaller schools have to play. Well, this is why you play those big universities, because I know we played South Alabama, if I'm not mistaken, last year, and this is part of the funding when it comes down to, like building nice stadiums and being able to have some resources is getting those big checks from those big universities.
And they've had a couple wide receiver prospects, too.
Yeah, they have.
Jalen Tolbert last year was the guy who was the big name, and have another one this season. But
did he miss against us last year? I feel like they had a really important piece out
he
last
played.
year. He did.
Jalen Tolbert had like 170 yards against Tennessee last year.
Dang.
Well, I got all.
Yeah, he played pretty well. So I remember that being the big part of his resume going into the draft last year. Is that a lot of times those smaller school guys feast against their conference opponents. Jalen Tolbert had big games against big opponents. But coming up next, want to get Ramon's thoughts on who impressed him yesterday on the practice field, a couple of the offensive linemen who will continue to be linked to the Tennessee Titans, and the road graders on the interior who Ramon got a chance to see up close and personal, plus how the Tennessee guys fared. Darnell Wright, Byron Young out there on the practice field, Josh Heupel, most of the Tennessee staff as well down here in Mobile, watching those guys go to work. We'll get Ramon and Kayla's takeaways from the practice field and see who stops by the table coming up next as Hour 2 continues on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, 104.5 The Zone. Hey, what's going on? It's Will Bowling here from my friends at Lee Company, and they want to ask you, when was the last time that you had your air ducts cleaned? Are you confident in the quality of your indoor air? Well, now is a good time to go ahead and schedule a duct cleaning with Lee Company. Air ducts trap dust, debris, pet hair, and so much more. And when you get your air ducts clean, you can enjoy fresher air, less dust, and increased HVAC efficiency. And right now, you can get 10% off your next duct cleaning with Lee Company. So give them a call at 615-567-1000. Visit them online at leecompany.com/promotions to claim this offer today and get 10% off your next duct cleaning for the folks who've been trusted for nearly 80 years. They've been around since 1944 for a reason. They're open 24/7 and ready to help you at a moment's notice. 615-567-1000. That's the number. leecompany.com. That's Lee Company, all you need. Wednesday edition of Ramon, Kayla, and Will is powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors in Nashville. With Ramon Foster and Kayla Anderson, I'm Will Bowling. And breaking news in the National Football League for the second time in as many years on February the 1st. Tom Brady with a big announcement. Here he is on his Twitter account just a couple of minutes ago.
Good morning, guys. I'll get to the point right away. I'm retiring. For good. I know the process was a pretty big deal last time, so when I woke up this morning, I figured I'd just press record and let you guys know first. So I won't be long-winded. I think you only get one super emotional retirement essay, and I used mine up last year. So really thank you guys so much, to every single one of you, for supporting me, my family, my friends, my teammates, my competitors. I could go on forever. There's too many. Thank you guys for allowing me to live my absolute dream. I wouldn't change a thing. Love you all.
So there's Tom Brady officially announcing his retirement after 23 seasons, 7 Super Bowls, 5 Super Bowl MVPs, and 3 NFL MVPs.
Jeez. Hall of Fame legacy, Hall of Fame first ballot, don't matter. The GOAT, the best to ever do it, whether you say it was a system, whether it was him. I think he's proved that
It ain't no system.
He's proven that he is him, man. He's the reason why a bunch of these quarterbacks now think they can play to their 50 themselves, man. Awesome career for Tom Brady again.
And that's why I think it's hard, because it's like with all that happened last year and we thought he had retired. I think we did all the, like, he's done this, he's done that. This is more so like him finally coming to peace with himself. And you can tell by the way that he did it. He's just out here on the beach. If you're listening, he's just filming it with the beach in the background on his own accord. And you can tell he got a little emotional in that clip. Wasn't very long, but I think he's finally at peace. I think that was the biggest thing last year. He didn't do it his way.
Right.
It was kind of like the news came out. He didn't get a break it himself. Brady wanted to do it himself, and that's exactly what he did. And guess what? We weren't expecting it, because we're in there trying to track down players, and we hear Brady's retiring. So good for him. What a career.
Pretty crazy, and he's the all-time highest earner in NFL history at $333 million, like we mentioned, and it feels like he really is done this time, too.
He's not doing this again.
I don't see him running this back another time.
Yeah, he sounded spent in this one. And like you said, if it was true last year, he wanted to do it his way, then I say good for him, man, because he's a guy that's pretty much controlled everything, done stuff his own way for the most part. And honestly has just set a new trend on what quarterback play is in this league, and the expectation of what it means to actually have a true franchise guy. And this is the other thing, too, that I think will get overshadowed in it. They look at Tom Brady as if he was just this, first overall pick of the, the NFL draft. No, he was a guy that grinded his way up, and I think that's when we see guys like a Brock Purdy or Dak Prescott or a Jalen Hurts even, who's a second-rounder that didn't get the big stage and glitz and glamour. Tom Brady, is a representation for those guys. So I love that side of it, too, even though he's the GOAT. He was a 6th-rounder that did this type of thing, and had this type of career. Got more Super Bowls than any franchise.
And what I love about it, too, is that he was able to do it with 2 different teams. He did it with the Belichick, and he's always going to be forever tied with Belichick. But at the same time, he also went out and said, I want to do something on my own. I want to get one on my own that's maybe not tied to him. And what did he do? He did exactly that. I think that is impressive in its own right. I also just appreciate the human side of Tom Brady that we got to see in his final years in the NFL, because we didn't get to see a lot of Brady being just Brady in New England, and we finally got to see that once he went to Tampa. I think that's more so for the fans to appreciate. Okay, we actually got to see a little bit of the Brady personality, what he truly is. We
did, and what's so interesting, too, you look at his accolades, and they're stacked from top to bottom. Every accolade you could think of, but the one in particular that, a lot of people judge players off of is the All-Pro. He's only had 3 first-team All-Pros, so it wasn't necessarily he was, the greatest quarterback as far as stats go, his longevity got his yards up, but he was just a great team player and a champion. That's the one way to categorize Tom Brady is, man, he was a friggin' champion. 3 All-Pros, but still, 7 Super Bowls.
Yep, so that's the big headline today. Tom Brady announcing his retirement, and we go from the end of a legendary NFL career to the beginning of a number of NFL careers for guys making the rounds with one-on-ones with media across from us in the ballroom here at the Mobile Convention Center. Ramon, I wanted to start with you on just what you took from practice yesterday. Any guys in particular who surprised you?
It was. Kayla and I talked about it earlier. We mainly looked at the big guys because that's a big need for the Titans this offseason is trying to figure out what they're going to do there. And plus, it's super exciting to see, big on big when it comes down to them going up against each other. But a few guys that jumped out to me, and I even have some defenders on here too.
Yes, you do.
Okay, I even have some defenders. I have 2 guys, man. Neste Jade Severa from Arizona State yesterday. He's an interior D lineman, man. Really, he's 6'1", 307, so not even a real big guy, but he caused chaos up the middle with some of those guards and centers, man. It was good to watch him work and get upfield, and I know that's always a position of need, too, when it comes down to the Titans in depth is who do you have? There's a couple guys that are going to end up being a free agent this year that you may have to bring in some youth for. Another guy on the D-line, played DN for the most part, was Keon White out of Georgia Tech, man. I didn't realize he was as big because he was going up against big guys. He's almost 6'5", 280 pounds. His rush and speed and bend and power yesterday just jumped off the charts to me as far as his competitive side. So I was good. I was glad to kind of see that. I wasn't just going to be biased towards the OL. And, of course, some of the guards and tackles was McClendon Curtis out of Chat, Olusegun Watimi out of Michigan. He played center for a little bit yesterday. I think they have him listed as a guard, but he's a kid out of Michigan that played center for him. Jalen Duncan was another tackle, very athletic guy. I thought he set well as far as the one-on-ones yesterday. Very athletic dude. Maryland has, as of late, been really pumping out guys, too, into the NFL draft. Don't sleep on Maryland and their talent pool. And, of course, the big guy of them all yesterday, DeJuan Jones, the big guy out of Ohio State. What I admired about him is he's a big human being, and he will let you know he's a big human being, too, in his approach to getting ready to play, actually making plays, and finishing people. He played with a lot of intensity yesterday, and he's probably the talk of the town on the national side of things from yesterday's practice.
I got to talk with him after practice down there on the field, and first of all, big in person. That is an understatement. And you're right, Ramon. I think it was really fun sitting down and breaking down these linemen with you yesterday. And the first thing that you said after a couple of drills were just the fact that he was using his body to his advantage. A lot of these bigger guys may not take what would you say? They're not confident in themselves always, right?
Yeah, you feel out of pocket sometimes. Not him.
But that's not how he looked. I thought it was interesting when I talked to him, and yes, I did mention Nicholas Petit-Frere. He said he's had a great time watching him have success down here in Tennessee in his rookie season. But he also said, I'm a guy that used to play basketball. Yeah. And I transitioned, and football has become my love now. But he said there's a lot of stuff I've got to work on still, and that's why he's here trying to do whatever he can to kind of raise that draft stock, because there's still work to be done with a guy like that. But I think it's impressive, at least the first showing that we saw from him, he stood out.
Yeah, and that's the thing, too. You said he mentioned he's a basketball player, Kayla. Like, most coaches are going to tell you they want multi-sport athletes, but if you're a football player, especially playing on the O-line, coaches love tackles that say they play basketball and actually play it, because that's all footwork, that's body balance, that's being an athlete. All of that matters. And this day and time, you want a big guy, but you also want a guy that's agile on his feet. And I got to give it to him. Yesterday, watching his pass rush, he sized them up, but his feet weren't dragging. They weren't slow as far as DeJuan Jones go. And I feel the same way, too, about Jalen Duncan. Really good athletes out there.
DeJuan Jones and his official measurements are unbelievable.
Tell him, Will.
6'8", 375 pounds.
Yep.
Hands 11 3/8. Arms 36 5/8. The wingspan 89 4/8 inches.
The longest in Senior Bowl history.
That is unbelievable. unbelievable for just a mountain of a human being.
Can you imagine his mom's and family grocery bill with him growing
No,
up?
I can't. I can't even. I cannot imagine.
Yeah.
Pretty unbelievable, but that's a guy that's going to continue to get a lot of buzz down here. We mentioned Paris Johnson, the other name that many have mocked to the Titans at number 11, not here in Mobile, the other Ohio State tackle, but you have that. And then you get Darnell Wright, who also measures out 6'5", 342 pounds, and his wingspan 82 3/8.
You want to hear something that's super interesting? I've been getting people call me asking me about him as a first rounder. Like Darnell has been garnering some buzz, and I think he had a good day yesterday. But there's conversation that he could work himself into a first-round pick. And I feel like he's primarily a right tackle, but you just never know where teams see need or if they want to slide him inside. But his athletic ability at his size suggests that he's going to be an earlier pick than some people will suggest.
Now, Darnell is not a guy who talks a lot, though, with the media. Is that? I mean, that's
He's
kind
only
of what
talked
we've
once.
heard, which is crazy. When I heard that, I didn't realize that one time he had spoke with the media at Tennessee. So
And that was a sit-down interview on VolQuest.com.
right.
Yeah.
So we were trying to get him. He is on our list,
You
but
know what?
at this point, I don't know if that's going to happen.
I never really knew college rules when it came down to speaking to the media. I guess if he chose not to and he wasn't a talker like that, then good for him. But he's got to make sure he's prepped for these job interviews he's about to have this week.
That's a good point,
and
too,
for
right?
the combine too. Maybe he's just like that. Nah, I'm good. You have that right too as players.
You get to see Byron Young yesterday?
We did not.
Yeah,
we'll
that's
see
the
him
today.
today.
We'll see him today.
We'll
American
see him
team.
today. He had a good team, so I saw some articles online suggesting he had a really good evening yesterday. So the Vols are representing themselves big time, and Hendon's here also just making his rounds.
I think another guy that really impressed yesterday was Tank Dell, the wide receiver from Houston, who was one of the only guys to put up Jalen Hyatt numbers in college football last season. Was actually the only guy to have more touchdown receptions this season than Jalen Hyatt, and did so with 11 games with a touchdown for Houston this past season. Listed at 5'8", 165 yesterday. A smaller guy who was clocked at 16.5 miles per hour on a comeback route, just absolutely juking guys out of their shoes yesterday.
Goodness. What you call him? One of those scat back type of guys,
Yep.
one of those quick slot football players, but he had a high volume of catches and yards in college. Well, that is promising.
He did. He's a smaller guy, like we were talking with Coach Mack about that, but clearly the speed is there. This is the kid who has kind of had a journey through football too, coming from Last Chance U and Independence, and then going to Houston and continuing to raise his stock there. So good for him, though, out there. And that first day, I'm excited to watch him today at the American practice as well.
Has a really interesting story because he was ready to commit elsewhere, and then essentially had his offer just kind of pulled, was kind of ghosted by a coaching staff of another school in the American. Yeah. And had to move on to his secondary choice at the time, which was Houston. Goes there, plays for Dana Holgerson, and has a ton of success with his quarterback Clayton Tune, who is also here in Mobile at the Senior Bowl. So that was one of the underrated, just really, really good passing attacks in all of college football last season that's well represented here in Mobile.
Good for him, man. Again, it's not where you start, it's where you end up at. And here he is finding himself at the Senior Bowl, and also with a high volume of catches in his career. I know for certain coaches enjoy that aspect of, it's one thing to be a really good athlete and have really good speed, but how many balls did you catch? How, what is your comeback catch style of ball play is also. Receivers, I don't think, get judged enough on that. I played with a couple guys that coaches said, to him, what attracted you to him? It's like, well, he had 2 years of 100-plus catches. That matters when it comes down to your comfortability in playing the game and being a pro in the NFL. Like, you're not going to just, see it be a deer in the headlight when the ball is coming your way, or it's pressure of you making that big play for your team.
It was interesting because we're used to seeing so many wide receivers where we know the names, right? Like
absolutely.
You hear about the big time wideouts that are coming out of Alabama. We just don't have that as much this year. So I think it'll be interesting to see some of the draft stocks rise from some of these players we don't know a lot about. Like I was turning to Ramon yesterday. I was like, look at that kid from Stanford.
Yeah.
Like that's a big body right
Yeah.
there. But I didn't know much about him.
Yep.
That's just one of the things I think it'll be fun, actually, kind of learning as we go, and maybe today at practice, too, taking a peek at some of these guys. I believe the Michigan wide receiver is out there as well, and then
Ronnie Bell.
And Mingo will be out there.
Jonathan Mingo
so
from
that
Ole
will be a
Miss.
good guy to look out for, because that's somebody the Titans could be interested in.
615-737-1045, our number as we continue to hit a big headline day in the NFL yesterday. With you on the phone lines coming up in a couple of minutes. We'll see who else stops by the table here in the Mobile Convention Center for the 2023 Senior Bowl Media Day. And we've got one team making the rounds right now. I can see Voice of the Titans Mike Keith talking with some guys in the ballroom. It is a little bit of a free-for-all.
Yeah, I'm trying to get some help getting
fit in.
people over here, but I don't know, man. It's hard when you're on radio, too, because we're kind of like stuck here at
On
the booth.
time. Yep.
So
all good.
we'll figure it out. We'll get some guys.
But coming up next, we'll see who stops by. We'll hear from one player that Kayla was able to catch up with on the practice field in the show this morning in McClendon Curtis from UT Chattanooga. An interesting prospect for the Titans, perhaps on day 2 or 3, as we continue to hear from the guys making the rounds at the Senior Bowl. Take a quick break, finish up hour 2 of the show. Coming up next on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, 104.5 The Zone.
What is up, friends? And I am so happy to be joined by Belmont Bruins women's head basketball coach, Bart Brooks. First, Coach, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. We're down here at the Senior Bowl, but we want folks to know back in Middle Tennessee that you guys have a big game coming up Thursday night against Murray State. Your ladies on a 4-game win streak. Okay, what can we expect, Coach?
You know, it's been an up and down start to our Missouri Valley Conference season, and we've had, I think, some really good moments and some really tough moments. But I tell you what, the last 4 games, something has clicked, and we've gone from struggling to score to we scored 101 points, a couple games ago, and we're finding our stride. So I think this group is really starting to figure things out, and it's a good time because Murray's really good, and it's a big game for us at home.
Yeah, and that home atmosphere, and Bruins fans, just want to let you know, single game tickets are on sale starting now. Make sure to stop by the ticket office or go online and purchase at BelmontBruins.com. Do not miss out on all the free giveaways and promotions all season long. I love the atmosphere there. You guys, this is going to be a huge game, so make sure to go out and get it done. You can also call. Ticket representatives are standing by now. Call 615-460-BALL. Coach, we are so excited, and good luck on Thursday.
Appreciate it. Can't wait. Let's pack the curb and let's go Bruins.
Thanks, Coach.
It's Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors right here on 104.5 The Zone with Ramon Foster and Kayla Anderson. I'm Will Bowling, broadcasting live from Mobile, Alabama. It is the 2023 Reese's Senior Bowl, and our coverage is brought to you by Scoreboard Bar and Grill, Two Rivers Ford, and Mitsubishi Electric. You can tune in all week. Today and tomorrow will be our last show here for Mobile. Us and the Buck Rising Show. After us, you can visit 1045thezone.com/events for more info on what we're doing down here.
And we're Hawks right now because I am trying to grab Dan before he leaves this other booth. I mean, you guys, this is crazy, this scene down here. Just players everywhere. You're trying to see faces and say, who's who?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Dayon Henley, linebacker at Washington State, finishing up an interview just one table over. So hoping to be able to sit down with him coming up here in just a couple of minutes. But a guy that's got a fascinating story, switching from being a wide receiver at Nevada to then going to Washington State for Kayla's Cougs.
Yeah, he really stood out at this last year with this Cougars defense that put up some really good numbers. He was kind of the motor there. I always talk about David Long Jr. and just the way that he plays on this Tennessee Titans team. And Dan kind of reminded me of that with the Washington State Cougars last year. Really, in his time at Nevada, didn't do a whole lot. So it was really cool to see him get on the map and then get the invite here.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And one guy I know you guys were able to talk to yesterday who is particularly interesting, the interior offensive lineman from Chattanooga, Ramon, McClendon Curtis, who's made 49 appearances in his college career, 38 starts on an offensive line that allowed only 14 sacks in 11 games at Chattanooga. And you really are high on just the teaching overall at that school and at that program. This is a guy that, according to Bruce Feldman of The Athletic, deadlifts 775 pounds.
Got a lower body.
And power cleans 345. Ramon, how do those numbers compare to what you're putting up these days in the gym?
Power cleaning was never my thing. Okay? 315 was about as high as I went on power cleaning. But it's such it's a tale of how explosive you can be or how explosive you are. And that number right there, you said 345 on that?
345 on power clean and deadlifting 775.
It just shows he has a good base, man. His work ethic as far as his lower body is good. And you need that when you play the interior that like he does to be able to move bodies around. I think that kid has a future for sure. And I'd also say you asked me about, the development at UT Chat. From what I understand –
It's headed in the right direction.
It is headed in the right direction because they don't get a big amount of high prospects.
Nope.
So they got to develop there. They got to be able to stay around and learn systems, and that's a good point to be at when you're a guy like him.
I got a chance to talk to him also on the field. Really impressed with him overall too, just as a guy who speaks well to the media. And what I loved about him too, knew everything about the Tennessee Titans, of course. Being in Tennessee, Chattanooga, he's from Chattanooga. He stayed to play football right there in Chattanooga, and he said the first thing, I love to run block. And he goes, man, I love Derrick Henry. It's been so fun to watch that guy. He was very familiar with a lot of guys on the Titans offensive line as well.
Yep.
So I thought that was really cool talking to him about that. But he was talking with a coach individually after the session before I was able to talk to him. I thought it was really interesting just to hear some of the feedback that coach was giving. And he was very, very receiving. And you could tell, okay, I got to work on these things. And he wants to see that next practice.
No doubt about it.
Well, it's always cool to see those FCS guys continue to mature and kind of get the work in to become NFL talents. And Cole Strange of the New England Patriots had the opportunity to do just that at a Chattanooga. So the proof of concept there for that guy who's just right down I-24 from Nashville down in Chattanooga. But a Chattanooga Central Purple Pounder. Which I still contend,
is incredible.
I still contend is the best nickname of any high school football program in our great state, the Purple Pounders.
What is that?
I don't know. You'd have to ask him.
We got
Kirby's stay away.
Yeah, when Kirby says
Chattanooga's got some interesting ones.
What in the world?
Because you have the GPS Bruisers that are right down the street, girls preparatory school as well.
GPS Bruisers?
They do not have a football program. It is an all-girls school.
Yeah,
you've got the Bruisers down the road.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's the sister school to McCauley.
I mean, those girls you don't want to mess with then. I should have went to that school.
You do not. You certainly do not want to mess with them.
The pinchers.
We'll go ahead and take a break here at halftime of the show. Come back for hour 3, and we'll be joined by a couple of players here coming up over the second half of the show. Rhett Bryan scheduled to sit down with us as well coming up at 8:20. We'll see who we can bring over to the table here on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, live from Mobile on 104.5 The Zone. Hey, it's Will Bowling. Are you having difficulty hearing conversation around the dinner table? Or maybe you're out at your favorite sports bar, or even right now, is the volume of your radio or tablet turned up to an uncomfortable level for those around you? Well, if so, let me tell you about Brentwood Hearing Center. Some of the early signs of hearing loss are asking friends, relatives, and work associates to repeat themselves. And maybe you're turning up the volume around 20 to 25 on the radio or TV, or straining to hear in various settings. And whether it's the voice of your significant other, young children, or work associates, or even understanding the calls by your favorite sports talk radio hosts, or maybe on Vol Network or Titans Radio, well, make sure that you hear correctly, because it's key to your quality of life. If this rings a bell, give the folks at Brentwood Hearing Center a call and schedule an appointment with one of their 5 doctors of audiology, conveniently located just off I-65 in Brentwood. They'll tailor a hearing solution to meet your specific needs. Give them a call at 615-377-0420 or check them out online at BrentwoodHearingCenter.com. That's 615-377-0420. Brentwood Hearing Center, better hearing, better life.
It is 7:58. Good morning. I'm Jonathan Schaefer from the Superbook.com Sports Desk. Tom Brady announced through social media that he is officially retiring from the NFL after 23 seasons. Brady, who had a brief retirement last offseason before returning, said this is, quote-unquote, for good. Among countless accolades that make him the greatest NFL player of all time, Brady is a 7-time Super Bowl champion. The Denver Broncos have agreed to a trade with the New Orleans Saints that will allow Sean Payton to become Denver's next head coach. The Saints will receive the Broncos' 2023 first-round pick, which is 29th overall, and a 2024 second-round pick for Peyton and the Saints' 2024 third-rounder. The Houston Texans have hired San Francisco 49ers defensive coordinator DeMeco Ryans as their new head coach. The deal is for 6 years. The Titans are removing the grass field at Nissan Stadium and replacing it with a synthetic surface before the upcoming season. The team says it is making the switch after reviewing injury rates and the difficulty of growing natural grass at Nissan Stadium since it opened in 1999. Men's college basketball last night, Alabama 101, Vanderbilt 44. Men's hoops tonight, number 2 Tennessee at Florida. 6 o'clock will be the tip for that. 5:30 Vol Network pregame coverage right here on The Zone. And to the NBA, Trailblazers at the Grizzlies, 6 o'clock, the tip for that in the association. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Simone, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, right here in beautiful Music City, USA. We broadcast live this morning and tomorrow once again from Mobile. It's the 2023 Reese's Senior Bowl, and we are here thanks to our friends at Scoreboard Bar and Grill, Two Rivers Ford, and Mitsubishi Electric. Along with 11-year NFL veteran, Vol for Life, Ramon Foster, our broadcast veteran and Capital J journalist, Kayla Anderson, and our producer, Jonathan Schaefer, back in our 104.5 The Zone studios. Woo! That's right. And we will have Rhett Bryan coming up with us in just a couple of minutes, and Kayla. By the way, I'm Will Bowling. We're hopeful to be joined by Tennessee quarterback Hendon Hooker coming up here in just a couple minutes.
Oh, wow. I'm out of breath, guys. This is just crazy. Yeah, we're seeing Hendon Hooker enter the big ballroom here where all the players
He's coming to
are.
us in a second.
Oh,
so,
did you have time
He's
to
coming
talk
right
to him?
over.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Here we go.
Man, shook his hands. Got some huge
Does
hands.
he?
Yeah.
And I didn't realize he was 6'4".
Pause. Yeah,
This whole 2 years,
the football
watching
field
him. Yeah,
makes him look small, huh, Kayla?
it's crazy.
Really interested in talking with him. I know he was able to sit down with Pete Thamel of ESPN yesterday, talking about his schedule around the Orange Bowl.
Yeah.
The guy who got surgery in California, was rehabbing in California, and was up at 4 a.m. every day to do Zoom meetings with the Tennessee quarterback room every day leading up to the Orange Bowl.
You know why, though, too? One, the room probably needed it. I'm sure Joe needed a little bit, too. But it's also he himself. I've seen guys have those season-ending injuries, man, and they are they don't want to get out of touch. They want to stay involved. And of course, that's the morale booster for the room that they're going to also. So guys don't like to be disengaged at all, y'all. So that's good on him. It's also show a sign of a great teammate, too.
And I think that's why him and Joe Milton just remained so close. And
Yeah.
just for him towards the end of the season to take over at the quarterback position, I think it was important for Hendon to kind of be there for him, too. And he wanted to continue to do that. Talk about a loyal guy. That's what you want on your football team, right?
No doubt.
Well, before we get to Hendon coming up here in a couple of minutes, a newsy day in the NFL yesterday as 2 vacancies get filled in the coaching ranks. Sean Payton is back, And DeMeco Ryans is back in Houston. First with Sean Payton, the Denver Broncos finalizing a deal yesterday to acquire their next head coach from the New Orleans Saints. They will receive, the Saints, a 2023 first-round pick, that's number 29 overall, and a 2024 second-round pick in exchange for Sean Payton and a future third, originally reported by NFL.com's Ian Rappaport. Of course, Sean Payton was still under contract with the Saints despite stepping down after the 2021 season. And apparently, according to Adam Schefter, wore an orange tie on the Fox set Sunday to send a message to the Denver Broncos like, hey, let's go ahead and get this done.
Hey.
Wow. Okay.
And wasn't it him pretty much self-reporting on his job interviews too? So he pretty much said, well, I'll go ahead and leak this thing anyway.
Yeah.
With all the speculations. Good for them. My question is, how quickly can they get that offense turned around? I won't even just throw Russ out there. Mm-hmm. The entire offense, because they look pedestrians ever when it came down to what they put on film last year.
No one was on the same page at all.
No.
And that's what you feel like Sean Payton can do. He can come in there. He's a proven head coach. He can work with Russell Wilson because we know his history with quarterbacks. And I think we were kind of questioning, could he go to Houston possibly and be the head coach there? But I think he's at the point of his career that he doesn't want to do the whole rebuilding process and bringing in the rookie quarterback. I think this is more his jam, but now we'll kind of see how quickly they can turn it around, because let's remember, guys, the Denver Broncos at the beginning of the season last year, before it started, they were getting a lot of praise for even being in the mix of a possible Super Bowl, and then we looked and saw what happened.
Mm-hmm. And not just that, Sean Payton's also got to be a locker room resetter too. I mean, think about last year, the controversy that they had. I don't even know if we want to call it controversy or what, but you remember those defensive players coming off pretty much yelling at Russ. All of the leaked conversation that came around Russell Wilson and how the defensive players and he wasn't on the same page with the offense. Like, they need a locker room building resetter, and what better guy than Sean Payton?
Yeah, it feels like he needs Russell Wilson needs the kind of coach that is going to take him back from celebrity to football player.
Yeah.
And not just being a celebrity who plays quarterback, but a quarterback who is a celebrity. And it feels like those two things kind of got out of order a little bit for him.
I think so.
I think so, too. And that's the thing, too. Guys venture off and do a lot of stuff. So I won't knock him on him, trying to be more than the football player. But I tell guys time and time again, don't put yourself in a position where you're off the field antics. Take over what you do on the field. And for Russ, the Subway commercials, just every other little thing that he was doing, when you don't perform and you play the quarterback position, it does get highlighted a little bit more. So right, wrong, or indifferent, you sign up for the job, you must complete it too. And Russ didn't do a good job of that last year.
Well, the other big story yesterday in the other coaching vacancy that was filled pretty much seconds after Sean Payton was announced, DeMeco Ryans is officially headed back to Houston. The San Francisco 49ers defensive coordinator. This is a terrific hire. You have two head coaches who have been there for 1 year each. The thing that jumps out to me about this one, guys, this is a 6-year contract for DeMeco Ryans, and it feels like 6-year contract, and it feels like Houston is finally investing in a head coach and in a full rebuild that they desperately need.
Man, that is big for a first-time head coach, too. DeMeco going back home to Houston. That says a lot about, one, what's his overall respect around the league, because I have a feeling for them to have offered him 6 years means there was a very strong contender somewhere else. And I think we did get that information yesterday, wasn't it? Denver wanted him to pick up the phone, and he chose not to. So 6 year gives him stability, but it also shows how much Houston actually wanted this young talent, man. And I will put his age to the side. I mean, he's not the only young guy that's taking over an NFL franchise like this. First-timer, yes, but he will, I think, surround himself about really smart people that's going to help him in this transition into being a head coach. This is a beautiful process for him.
I agree, too, and just like we said, maybe the Sean Payton fit is better in Denver. I think this is a great fit in Houston, because he knows and is very familiar with Houston because he played there, but he also is young. He's got a lot of energy to take take on the rebuilding process to bring in your quarterback. I think that makes it a really good fit. But he also went and got experience in other places, saw how organizations ran elsewhere. So I think it's a really good fit for both those head coaches all in all.
Yeah, D'Amico Ryan spent 6 seasons in Houston. I met his wife there, who is from Houston, a second-round pick by the Houston Texans in 2006. Looking at a lot of the response from Texans fans, it seems like this is the most excited they've been about literally anything other than getting rid of Deshaun Watson in quite some time.
Oh, I know. Good for him and good for them. My question is what are they doing with these draft picks and this quarterback situation now that they have to face? Who is it, Mechie, that they'll end up getting back this year too, if I'm not mistaken?
He's recovering. From
if
the
all
lymphoma,
health
I
goes
believe.
well for him. So they're set up to compete. And this is the thing. Defensively, they're going to be locked tight, too.
Sure.
They're going to be good defensively eventually.
615-737-1045, our number. We'll talk with Rhett Bryan as Hour 3 continues coming up here in just a couple of minutes. We are expecting to be joined by Hendon Hooker coming up here in just a few as well. The other headline, of course, yesterday from Nissan Stadium is the fact that there will be a new surface in Nissan Stadium. We talked about it in the previous hour, but the Titans explored a number of solutions to improve the natural playing surface in Nashville and in the transitional climate that we have in the Music City. They decided to go ahead and try out an artificial surface that likely will be what they have in the new stadium as well.
Who really dislike it? Kayla, where are y'all at on the artificial turf?
I'm actually pretty much now realizing it is what it is, and I didn't play football
on turf,
and so I can't really go into details about did it injure people, did it not. I'm going to leave that up for the questions I asked the players.
Yeah.
But at this point, I'm of the belief that if Mike Vrabel, Rand Carthon, Amy Adams-Strunk believes that this is healthy enough to put into the stadium, and it will go in the new stadium, now that might be more advanced at that point, then it's going to be okay for these players to play on. It's not significantly different from the grass, which, by the way, Will had mentioned, goes through a lot of stuff with this weather. You're looking at the weather right now in Tennessee. I mean, even in the playing season, we see a whole bunch of different type of weather, from warm to rain. So I think all in all, this will give a consistent field playing surface.
Yeah, 100%.
Let's go ahead and take a break. And coming up next, we are hoping to be joined by Tennessee quarterback Hendon Hooker as we talk with him about the dream season in Knoxville, about the cerebral process of transitioning from a Josh Heupel system to an NFL system, and let him chop it up with our VFL, Ramon Foster, coming up here in just a couple of minutes. QB1 for the Tennessee Volunteers on the other side on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, 104.5 The Zone.
Oh my goodness, the weather right now in Middle Tennessee. This is why we are so happy to be joined by Dean Glasscock of Arbor Art Tree and Shrub. He is your expert in trees and shrubs right here in Middle Tennessee. Dean, we're seeing it right now. We had the harsh weather overnight. It's cold today. How can Arbor Art help us stay warm?
Well, that's a great question. Good morning. We have firewood. We have tons of firewood right now. As a matter of fact, we're selling it really cheap to get rid of it. So if anybody out there has got firewood and they want to stock up for the rest of the winter or for next year, give us a call, 615-299-9999. You'll either talk to Mackenzie or Liz in the office. They can set you up. We do offer a delivery service as well. But, you know, with the emerald ash borer here, just real quick, as far as our plant health care goes, that's why we have an abundance of firewood. We don't want to grind this stuff up and just keep making mulch, because that's just a whole other story. But making firewood, we can utilize what's left of the wood after these bugs have taken its toll. So emerald ash borer is something, if you're not familiar with us, we can walk out into your house, or come out to your house, I should say, and tell you if you have ash trees. We can treat them to keep them alive, or if you're not going to keep them alive by treating them, they should be removed. So either way, 615-299-9999. We've got a great deal going on for firewood, so give us a call. I appreciate it. Have a great day and stay warm.
Yeah, you're going to need that after this week's weather in Middle Tennessee. Arbor Art Tree and Shrub. Check them out online at arborart.net or call them, like Dean said, 615-299-9999. That's Arbor Art Tree and Shrub.
It's Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors right here on 104.5 The Zone. Back with you live from Mobile, Alabama for the 2023 Reese's Senior Bowl. Alongside Ramon Foster and Kayla Anderson, I'm Will Bowling, and we are pleased to be joined by a Vol for Life Tennessee quarterback Hendon Hooker, spending some time with us this morning. What's going on, Hendon? How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
We're good. And first of all, for the show with a VFL and a guy who played in the NFL and played for Tennessee, we want to thank you for your service to us Tennessee fans for giving us a pretty fun year this past year.
Yeah, we had a blast doing it. Every day was special to us. So just the same approach every day, trying to come in with a positive mindset to go out and dominate on Saturdays.
Man, you'll see with the job in NFL, you don't have time for certain stuff like going to college games. I'm just now getting into this world. Mm-hmm. Y'all made it fun, man. I don't think I've ever in my life had a blast the way I did. Even last year, just all around, I was like, okay, I see why people enjoy college football. Like, that's all. Dude, I told you a second ago, I was like, just during my playing days, I needed you then, okay? Because I played with guys from Florida, from Georgia, from LSU, and that customary $100 bet, man, got old when you got 4 of them dudes on the team.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I appreciate you, man. I talked a whole lot of trash just
yes,
so
sir.
you know.
Yeah, just for y'all, just for the VFL.
No doubt. Thank you.
What was it like this year taking down Alabama right there at Nissan Stadium and just watching the fans flood the field? Like, what was that moment like? Will it forever be one of the top moments probably for you in your
Definitely.
college
That
career?
was the first time I was actually on the positive side of rushing the field. So that was a treat. I tried not to get trampled. So I ran out to the middle of the field for 5 seconds. I realized how fast the stadium was getting flooded, and I just ran to the locker room and celebrated with my teammates and my family in there. So it was a surreal moment. We approached that week as pros and as vets in this field of business, and we came out on top.
Well, Hendon, I remember talking to you at SEC Media Days in Atlanta, and a lot of the talk then was, who is that team right behind Georgia and Alabama, right? Who's that other special team in the SEC? When did you know that this team was capable of what it did this past season, that you could win 10 games and beat Alabama?
After our first player-led skills and drills, I remember getting on the phone with my mother and father and just telling them how special we were going to be this past year. Just the work and the encouragement that we got from Coach Heupel and the rest of the coaches. I remember Coach Hype telling everyone, we got some extra gear for y'all to come in and get extra work. So, all throughout the summer, I saw a lot of young guys in there catching jugs or going up and watching film with the GAs or their position coaches. So everyone was just hungry to get better. And after that first skills and drills, I saw how hard we competed and how special we were, not just on offense but on defense as well. We still toasted them every day, but
small flex right now. I'm here for that.
But I saw how special we were and how competitive we were, and I was eager to get out there on game day.
How big was that relationship with you and Coach Heupel? Because it just seemed like it worked.
Yeah, that's my right hand man. Love him to death. Every day we would come in when he first got there. He would always look at me and say, come on, man, smile. Like, smile, have fun. I'd be so serious. And he'd be like, smile, have fun, relax, play your game. I want you to go out there and have fun. And that's what he encourages all of us to do. So just having that confidence from him boosted my confidence and then just encouraged me to put confidence into my teammates as well.
One sector, of course, I'm the resident O-line guy, okay?
O-line rules.
See, I didn't pay for that, okay? Now I can actually pay the kid.
That wasn't an NIL deal.
That wasn't even an NIL deal.
He got a lot of gifts in the NFL from the quarterback.
Hey, Christmas is good, okay? But with that being said, you said, you guys got better. That group got better, man. You have one of your fellow O-linemen down here right now, Darnell. We'll see if we can get him in a little bit too. But what about that growth from him, Jerome, Young May? Yeah. I mean, say what you want to, and I've only saw you had to get onto him, I think, like once in a game, okay?
Once.
Those moments, they responded. What was it like for you to actually have that protection in that group?
That was extremely special. Our bond was extremely special. I remember going out to eat with them multiple times throughout the season. They ran my pockets dry a couple times.
But
it's worth it. It's worth it, though, because those are my guys. Go to war for them. 100 times out of 100.
Yeah.
And they do the same for me. I remember the only one time that you're talking about, Darnell Darnell got mad at me because he thought I gave up a sack and messed up his PFF game for the week against Kentucky. Because I was trying to make a play. He was like, "I'm mad at you, bro." I'm like, "Man, I'm sorry, man." So
he's got a streak going. He hasn't allowed a sack in 19 games.
Yeah. So they didn't give him that sack. They just So they just
small victories, man.
Victories.
I'm telling you, we don't have a stat line.
Right. So I gotta show my guys love. We're supposed to have some T-shirts coming out here. The security, so front door security, back door security. So those are my guys, and I love them. I love them to death.
I see real quick too. You're bending your knee.
Yeah.
Like you're sitting like us right now. One, how upset were you? The next day, I think they start stretching on that knee from surgery. But like, how's the process of healing been for you?
Yeah, the process of healing has been great. I remember my first day out of surgery, I was bending at 60%.
Man.
Wow.
Yeah. So
it didn't used to be like that, man. You have to like wait a week. Now they bend early.
Yeah, so I started my rehab the day after my surgery.
Yeah.
And then being able to finally I got to start bending it like this right here after 2 weeks. And, being able to really walk around and be off my brace and off those crutches. My forearms aren't burning everywhere I go. So being able to just do the things that I do on a daily basis and work out total body, not just my upper body, not just my right leg, and not doing, tabletop workouts is what I call them,
right?
In the training room. So actually being able to move and move around like I want to in the weight room, it's been fun. It's been fun.
Hendon Hooker with us this morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Do you have any goals set for yourself for a pro day, for your recovery this offseason? What do you want to be able to do to kind of show teams that you're ready to go this year?
Yeah, I just want to take it one day at a time. Continue to work my butt off on a daily basis, have a positive attitude about things, and continue to build my mental as well. So showing off my attributes away from the physical side is what I want to do, and those are the goals that I've set for myself.
And that's kind of different here this week because you're not able to be out there on the field when coaches and scouts are watching these guys practice, but you are in a lot of meetings. You are meeting with a lot of teams. What's that been like, and are you comfortable now with just kind of just being yourself and letting them see the real Hendon Hooker? That's kind of what they want here, right?
Yeah, it is, and I don't know how to be anyone else.
That's good,
so,
right?
Just me being myself and talking ball. It's been a blast. It's been a blast. I work out with Clayton Toon and Max Duggan out in San Clemente, California.
We talked to Max earlier.
Yeah. So I'm with those knuckleheads on a daily basis, and we have a good time out there with Will Levis as well and Dorian Thompson-Robinson that's at UCLA. But being able to go in the meetings and talk ball and being able to communicate with those guys on the field, I'm standing in their ear hole trying to get the play call.
I bet you are.
From Coach London. He's talking to the mic, and I'm standing in their ear hole. Okay, make sure my read's here, just protection. So, still doing taking the same mental reps off the field as if I was going into play.
What was you'll find out for sure. At the next level, every quarterback wants that number one, and that's receiver. I feel like you had a plethora of just guys in general, like Brew. I mean, just name them. But Jalen, because he was deemed the best receiver in the world.
Best receiver in the world.
Okay, what was it like with him, knowing that, you know what, put it in the air?
It was. I don't know. I don't want to say inevitable, but it was going to happen regardless. He was committed to Virginia Tech at one point. I remember him coming on his official visit, and he was sitting in my living room, and we're sitting there just talking about basketball. And we found out we played at the same AAU organization. He's just years younger than me, and we knew the same people. My people are his people.
Wow.
So that connection has just been there for a long time off the field. My first weekend at Tennessee, Jay Hyde asked me to go throw. It was me, him, Walker Merrill, and Jalen Wright. And I was throwing to those guys, and Hyde was like, I got to see if you can overthrow me, man. If you can overthrow me, then you can play quarterback here. So I was bombing him over his head on purpose every time. I wasn't even trying to hit him in stride or anything.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, because we had a little bet, not really a bet in agreement, what will his 40 time be, you think? 4.3, hitting 4.2?
He said that he got something special for me. So if he said he got something special, then I'm expecting 4.2.
That's what I said.
But I know he's going to run a great time, and he's going to have fun. He's going to show off his ability. He got that long hair, so his hair is going to be in the wind.
Got to get more aerodynamic.
Yeah, so I'm excited for him, and I'm excited for all my teammates to go and show out at the Combine, put on for the VFLs.
Go
ahead. Like, that was the thing, too. I know you're probably more of a passer than thrower.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, passer than runner.
Yes, sir.
But you have speed.
Yes, sir, yeah.
That's always been the case, is like let you sit and let it develop?
I haven't always had speed. I actually, in high school, was a pro-style quarterback. And when I got to college, I don't know, some speed came from somewhere.
The heavens above, right?
Yeah, right. I got blessed with some speed.
Yeah.
And then in 2020, I actually, during the COVID era, I got to actually work with my speed coach. So that was probably the fastest I had been in college. And I, at one point, was leading the nation in rushing touchdowns.
Yeah.
And then Malik Willis went on to lead with 11. I finished with 9. But I was trying to break Bruce Arians' touchdown record in a single season, which was 9. So
how about B.A. coached me, man?
Oh,
he was my offensive coordinator in Pittsburgh. I didn't realize B.A. actually played football.
Yeah.
I had no idea because he's just mean as hell, man. I was like, B.A., why are you like this? I didn't realize he was a football player.
Well, Hendon's like, oh, man, I'm so much older than Hyatt, And it's funny because, like, in football years, we're talking 24, 25. There's a lot of guys here that have, because of the COVID situation, because of just how the NFL is changing a little with NIL, or college, I should say. 25, they want to say that's older, but there's so many benefits to that, right? I mean, you're coming in more mature. I think teams are starting to see that a little bit. Does that come up at all in conversation with just the leadership aspect of things?
No one has really pointed out my age or anything, but they definitely ask me, what are some of the ways that I lead? What type of leader am I? And it's a unique way. I want to connect with everyone on the team, be able to communicate in our own special way, have an off-the-field relationship first, and then transition to that football side. I remember getting to Tennessee, and everyone was like, well, the only football we watch is on CBS at 3:30.
Yeah, right.
So,
right.
I mean, you have nice highlights, bro, but you're playing the ACC. I'm like, okay. So I led from, winter workouts and just kind of made connections, didn't really say too much, just but brought great energy. And when we were having sprints and stuff, I was very competitive, trying to push guys. And then when we got to spring ball, I made a couple linebackers, I broke their ankles, and then they came back to the locker room and was like, okay, you can play ball. You can play ball.
Well, Hendon, of course, the new leader now is your guy, Joe Milton.
Yes, sir.
How fun was it to watch him have the day that he did near his hometown in Miami down there for the Orange Bowl? How excited are you for him to step up and be the franchise quarterback of Tennessee?
Yeah, I'm getting goosebumps right now because I'm excited to watch my man Joe throw that thing around. I told him I'm coming to the spring game in a Joe Milton jersey, and he better autograph it or we're going to have some problems. But I'm excited for him. I'm excited for his supporting cast. He got some wideouts coming in, and we got some weapons coming in also from the transfer portal. Also some freshmen. So little Nico is going to learn a lot from Joe, and I'm excited to see him, take the reins when Joe's gone after next year.
And Joey Halsley has talked about Nico and has said, look, this kid's highly touted. He's a 5-star, just a normal kid at the same time. How impressed have you been with his ability to kind of get things up to speed pretty quickly, and how jealous are you of him being able to go right to practice as an early enrollee?
Yeah. That's I wish I could have done that. I kind of decided to leave high school early, late in the process. So like a week out of Virginia Tech and rolling into classes, that's when I decided that I was going to go early. But Nico's special kid. I'm excited for his journey and his growth, coming in and replacing that second quarterback spot is a big step, for a freshman. It's also a blessing. So to be able to get those reps in practice and be able to come in, I'm expecting Joe to throw some bombs early and get Nico in there in a couple games. So I'm excited to see his development.
My final question for you, and we got a guy right here, another Vol. I mean, how important is it for you guys now to continue to build this legend of Tennessee and bring it back to the top by putting guys in the NFL? I mean, I know that's Heupel's thing. You guys want to represent, right? Yeah,
that's right. Just being a VFL and trying to represent everyone who came before us and everyone who's going to come after us, making sure that we set that standard, that we're hard hat guys. We come in and we want to work and compete and make our mark on any team that we're on.
Real quick before we let you go, I know you told us off air you have met with the Titans, met with the new GM Rand Carthon. Who else have you been talking to here? What have those conversations been like? And I guess what was your impression of the new Titans GM? Too?
Yeah, it's been a gauntlet of teams for sure. You meet with everyone, and I just have a blast talking ball. And then meeting with the Titans was really cool. Kind of a surreal moment for sure, because that was the first team that I talked to in the interview process. So being able to just sit down with the head man and talk ball, it's been a blast. It's been a blast.
Well, Hendon, this has been awesome, man. Continued health and success for you. Thanks so much for joining us. And again, from a Tennessee fan, thank you for a great season for us Vol fans.
Thank you.
Thanks, Hendon.
Thank you.
All right, there's Hendon Hooker with us this morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, as we're going to go from one VFL straight to another here and talk with Darnell Wright coming up, as Ramon's going to join us here at the table again. And I'll see if we can get him just set up right here real quick.
Good, Hen?
All right. So we've got a lot of orange hanging out with us here at the table as Darnell Wright sits down with us.
That's what I always do. I'm always like singing on here or something.
What's going on, man? How are you?
How you doing, man? I'm good.
So how about your quarterback? How fun was it to block for that guy? I know he told us that you were a little upset with him, thinking that he may have given you a sack against Kentucky, but ultimately it didn't end up happening.
Yeah, man. He must have took that one on the chin. I don't know what. Something went down, but yeah, I was a little upset. But it was all good, so it turned out all good.
So how fun was this season? How fun was, the Alabama game, the field storming? You don't lose a game in Knoxville. Just how do you describe just the roller coaster ride you guys went on this year?
Yeah. It started off. I feel like we instilled a confidence into the team. I mean, starting with Hendon, he really he wasn't just a guy that talked just to talk. He really believed what he was saying, and it was easy to really get behind him. And that trickled down to the whole team, and I think that's the reason why we had such a big year.
That side of playing, that switch that you made, I thought that was one of the smartest things that could have ever have happened, from you going to left to right. What was the adjustment for you over the summertime and you retraining yourself to play right tackle?
Yeah. So obviously I was playing left last year, and I was training left the whole time, and we kind of had – we had a situation on our hands, as everyone knew what we had on our hands. We didn't have a lot of tackles. I mean, we had a couple swing guys. But me and Coach, we kind of came together, had the same epiphany. I mean, moving me to right, I've had probably the most experience there. I mean, I could play left.
Yep.
I mean, I did it for a year, but having the most experience there, it just made the team that much better, I feel like.
And another thing, of course, seeing the play volume that you guys had this year. Speak on that as far as an offensive side of it. Like, y'all really did run the ball, and y'all legitimately highlighted your pass setting skills and stuff like that too, man. Like, it wasn't just through the air football y'all play. It was physical.
Yeah. I think that's probably one of the most underrated things that we did. I mean, Jabari, Jay Wright, Samson came in. I mean, everybody just did. I mean, they did what they did. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's probably one of the most underrated things this year. I mean, I think we had more touchdowns than, or at least more than people would expect.
On the ground. Yeah.
Why was it so important for you to play in the Orange Bowl? I thought it was great. I mean, clearly you want to raise your draft stock, but you thought, I'm going to do this. Not everybody does that.
Yeah, I don't know. I just like playing ball, man.
Right?
I don't know.
Okay, sounds like a Titan to me, right?
It was just, I thought it'd be fun. I don't know.
And how was that experience, just being able to kind of take that Orange Bowl victory and continue to put Tennessee on the map?
Yeah. It was great. Just being able to compete. I mean, at that time, we could have went a couple ways. I mean, Hendon was out. Everybody had a little bit of a didn't know what was going to happen with Joe, blah, blah, blah. But, I don't think we ever faltered. I don't think we ever we knew it as a team what we could accomplish, and I feel like we just went out there and did what we could do.
Tennessee tackle Darnell Wright with us this morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. How difficult was that adjustment to playing such a fast tempo? Because I think about you guys up front when I watch how quickly the offensive line and the rest of the offense moves. How long did it take you to kind of get used to that speed?
Yeah, it was a little bit of an adjustment because we don't we don't cut down. We don't. How do I explain it? We don't cut down as an O-line some of the progressions that we go through. Like we don't cut down we still make reads, and we still have to figure out the same things that anybody else would figure out, but we just do it much faster. And I think our process through our mind just makes us that much faster. Even out here, I remember we were out there the other day, and I'm sitting there. I had like 2 or 3 more thoughts in my head. I'm just sitting. I'm like, okay, but I think it just makes my processing speed just so much faster.
What's that like out there in practices? We watched yesterday. We're going to be out there again today, just getting that instant feedback and being with guys from really all over the country that are the best at their positions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was good. I mean, I love to compete against people that just I don't really know much about. Didn't scout them as much as I could have throughout the season, and just really letting my instincts take over and just going against it's the best people here in the country.
Mm-hmm. How was we talked about a little bit off air, like you said, your nerves had to settle down. Like,
yeah.
There's a lot of pressure this, just all eyes. I mean, every scout of every NFL team is here. There's GMs, there's head coaches here, your position coach potentially, whoever drafts you. What was it like in those one-on-ones, run and pass?
Yeah, I mean, you may know, like, coming in, think about first day of, like, a fall camp, times that by 10, 100 even, like, it's just – I don't think my heart really stopped racing the whole time. It was just I was on 100 the whole time.
You had a lot of good content out there, man. Your name rung out yesterday. In this league, is all about stacking. And I love the O-line, okay? They'll tell you we talk about it way too much.
He does.
You hear me? But now I think the importance of these positions, and I'll say this specifically, the right tackle position, if that's where you choose to play it at the NFL, that has actually increased the level of importance for that. Did you recognize that some?
Yeah, I think I've always recognized, even when I was playing left, like man, if both tackles ain't solid, like you can't just have one. I mean, that's for any position on the field. I mean, you got to have solid players at every single position.
Yep.
Well, you mentioned Joe Milton, and how much confidence do you have in that guy leading this Tennessee program forward? Hendon already told us he's wearing a Joe Milton jersey to the spring game coming up in a couple of months. How much of a progression have you seen in that guy already?
Yeah, he's made strides and bounds that nobody's probably ever seen thought about him. And I think he's going to continue to get better. I mean, just finding that – I really think it's finding that confidence in himself as well. And I mean, we've seen what he's done in games, and that's really only the tip of the iceberg for him.
So you keeping up with your guy Trey Smith up in Kansas City? What about that? Going to the Super Bowl? What you talk to him regularly?
Yeah. He's
cool.
He's balling, and he's such a good guy. I mean, I wish him the best. He's doing really good right now.
If you had to choose a city, what do you want, man? West Virginia's your hometown?
Yeah. Okay. So they ain't got no teams.
They ain't got no teams there. So where are we at? We want to say East Coast. You mind going to Seattle? What about L.A.? We thinking Phoenix. You want to play indoor, outdoor? Nashville. They do need linemen. What would you prefer? And don't say anybody to draft me. I know that's the version.
I'm not going to say no name.
Well, I just say just give me cold or hot and indoor, outdoor.
Yeah, I definitely – I could deal with the cold, but somewhere in the middle. I like it to snow. I like the snow.
I like that.
I don't know. There's a lot of variables.
It is.
I don't know.
Turf matter, indoor, outdoor? Don't matter.
I kind of want to play on grass. But I mean, yeah.
You talked to the Titans at all yet since you've been here?
Yeah.
Yeah. You met the new GM probably then, Rand
Carthon?
I
think he was in the interviews.
What'd you think about him?
Yeah, it was good. They had a lot of staff down there, and we were just all chatting it up.
It's intimidating.
Yeah, it is.
Who all have you heard from? Anybody you've met with multiple times through the process yet so far?
Yeah. I think we had there's a lot of guys going through, so there's only a limited amount of time, but I met with a couple teams. I don't want to say who, but I met with a few teams multiple times.
Love it.
Well, one last thing. You said yesterday you got settled in. What's your goals today as far as this second practice go? Now that you know what to expect a little bit.
Yeah, I think today is to really just show consistency throughout from day 1 to day 2, and also just really break out all the stops. You know what I mean? Break out and really just showcase my abilities.
If I give you one piece of advice, screw their feelings. Finish every single one.
There he is.
Yeah, that's just my dark side coming out, man. But I love seeing my VFL guys flourish, though. So having gone through this process, the one thing they're going to see is Ignacio, he a finisher, and you leave no doubt You'll be friends when you go to meetings.
Darnell Wright has been our
it.
guest this morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Darnell, best of luck through this entire process, man. We really appreciate the time.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you,
Appreciate you, man.
All right,
Appreciate
there's Darnell
it.
Wright with us. More coming up from Mobile. Coming up next on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, 104.5 The Zone.
It's Ramon Foster and Kayla Anderson for Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Listen to us. Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. They are the heating and cooling company that can take care of all of your HVAC needs. And Spring Hill Heating and Cooling is also a York certified comfort expert company. And guess what they do with those York products too? They back them up with 10-year parts and labor warranties too, Kayla.
And you know what? The one thing that you can't really rely on here in Middle Tennessee, the weather. It's always up and down. But one thing you can rely on is our friends at Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. It is a family-owned and operated company that's been around and been in business for over 10 years. They deliver all the services that those bigger corporate guys offer, but the big thing with them, they deliver it with the friendliness of family. The Spring Hill Heating and Cooling family responds promptly to issues and gets your problems resolved quickly and accurately.
For all of your HVAC needs, seriously, go to springhillac.com and be sure to tell them that Kayla and Ramon sent you.
Check them out.
It's Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, right here on 104.5 The Zone. Our coverage from Mobile for the 2023 Reese's Senior Bowl, presented by Scoreboard Bar and Grill, Two Rivers Ford, and Mitsubishi Electric. With Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, I'm Will Bowling. Great conversations with the two Vols for life on the offensive side of the football. Hendon Hooker and Darnell Wright, who say they have both already met with the Tennessee Titans.
That's huge. I think it's smart, though, and that's the thing that Tennessee will do is they will have teams being attracted to their players, the Vols, that is. When you're good, folks want to draft. When you're a good team, folks want to bring on that good talent because that may mean you bring a winning culture sometimes, and that's very attractive. Good for Heupel.
I love when he said, "I just love football." I'm like, oh, Mike Vrabel.
I told you.
The Tennessee Titans have entered.
Yeah.
Love
no, they
football.
were great. Hendon Hooker, that was the first time I've talked to either one of them. Darnell Wright does not talk that much to the media, so that was incredible. I thought he did a great
he was
job.
good.
He was great.
Really good.
Yeah.
And Hendon Hooker, I mean, man, I wish he was healthy here.
Yeah.
Because he would, like you said, Ramon, be the best guy out there.
Yes,
but in
he
terms
would.
of meeting with teams, he's got to be blowing teams away.
He
Because you
has
can't
to.
not like that guy.
And they got to go off his face value and what he breaks down for them in short term and meetings, man. It is, like you said, speed dating of NFL prospects right now.
Yeah, so we mentioned the fact the Titans have met with both of them. The Titans will meet with every player here because all 32 teams will meet with every player here at the Reese's Senior Bowl. But interesting, Hendon Hooker mentioned that was the first team he heard from in the entire process.
Good for him, man. Is there depth that's needed
Could be.
at the quarterback position?
I think it certainly could
He
be.
also mentioned the Raiders about 18 times. He's
Did-
like,
He did.
I have met with the
Colts as well.
Vegas Raiders a lot. Yeah.
I think his potential is through the roof, and I think teams realize that. It's a factor of them getting past what they think the offense is, and that's on him to break that down in meetings of understanding, the way teams operate offensively in the NFL.
Well, coming up, good to see some of our friends of the show here in Mobile, and that includes Andy Staples, our guy from The Athletic, making the rounds here at Radio Row. See if we can sit down with him and wrap up the show with hour number 4 coming up. Been a quick one this morning.
Yeah.
We continue for 60 more minutes next from Mobile on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, 104.5 The Zone.
9:01, good morning. I'm Jonathan Schaefer from the Superbook.com sports desk. Tom Brady announced through social media that he is officially retiring from the NFL after 23 seasons. Brady, who had a brief retirement last offseason before coming back, said this is for good. Among countless accolades, makes him the greatest NFL player of all time. Brady, a 7-time Super Bowl champion. Denver Broncos have agreed to a trade with the New Orleans Saints that will allow Sean Payton to become Denver's next head coach. The Houston Texans have hired San Francisco 49ers defensive coordinator DeMeco Ryans as their new head coach. The deal is for 6 years. The Titans are removing the grass field at Nissan Stadium and replacing it with a synthetic surface before the upcoming season. The team says it is making the switch after reviewing injury rates and the difficulty of growing natural grass at Nissan Stadium since its opening in 1999. Men's college basketball last night, Alabama walloped Vanderbilt 101-44. Number 2 Tennessee at Florida tonight, 6 o'clock tip, 5:30 pregame, courtesy of the Vol Network right here on the Zone and to the association. Trailblazers at Grind City taking on the Memphis Grizzlies. 6 o'clock will be the tip. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
And Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, and we are live from Mobile, Alabama. It's the 2023 Reese's Senior Bowl, and our coverage thanks to Scoreboard Bar and Grill, Two Rivers Ford, and Mitsubishi Electric. With Ramon Foster and Kayla Anderson, I'm Will Bowling. Jonathan Schaefer back in frigid Music City, USA. Oof. And down here in the sunlight and the fog of Mobile, Alabama, we are pleased to be joined by our guy Andy Staples of The Athletic here at the table in Mobile. What's going on, Andy?
Just watching the trawlers go out, deciding I'm going to be a shrimp boat captain. You
got some shrimp and grits over there?
Yeah, I did get some shrimp and grits. I wasn't going to. I was like, not today, Satan. But
I did too.
But no, I couldn't resist.
Y'all are better at food down here. I don't know where it begins, where food just gets better
Well,
than anywhere else in
the
the
Gulf
country.
Coast in general is tremendous. If you think about it, you've got Mobile, where I'm sure someone has mentioned this week that they founded Mardi Gras here.
Yes.
But then you got Louisiana, but also the Gulf Coast of Florida is tremendous. Like if you keep going, you go to Apalachicola, get some oysters. So this is probably because this is where barbecue meets seafood.
Exactly.
And
true.
It doesn't get better than that combination.
Will was saying he had to buy like 5 bottles of Tums this week.
Well, I was like, the antacid industry is the only industry doing better than seafood down here.
Yeah.
Honestly. We just talked with Hendon Hooker and Darnell Wright, and I wanted to ask you about Darnell Wright as an interesting prospect because not a guy that does a lot of media, but you could not tell from sitting down with him.
He's
a couple minutes
delightful.
ago.
I talked to him in October for a story in Knoxville, and he's fantastic. I just, offensive linemen tend to go one of two ways. They're either great talkers or they don't ever want to talk to anybody. They just want to go to the room and read a book.
I wonder.
I think we know where Moan falls in that on that spectrum, but it is interesting because like they will light up a room when you get them really going, and that's what it's funny because I was talking to Ramon before you guys had him on. I was like, oh, when he sees that you're here. This is boom. The sunlight will come out of his eyes. But he's a really interesting story because, usually when you have the 5-star type prospect who is big time, goes to the big time school, it either works or it doesn't.
Yep.
It's not that often where it doesn't work at first and then there's some development and kind of trial and error, and then the guy turns out to be a great player. And that's what happened with Darnell. And credit to him for not getting frustrated because I know people like, well, it's your own fault for believing your hype as a five. But when you are a 5-star player, you are so hyped up, and if you do not start within 2 years, you have completely failed. You're worthless. You need to just go home. But that's the attitude you get from everybody. And so for him to power through that and find his way as, okay, so maybe I'm not the next great left tackle at Tennessee and going to go to the NFL as a first-round draft pick. I can be a great right tackle at Tennessee. And look, I'm not ruling out playing up into the first.
Right.
Like he's moved up draft boards as the season's gone on, and like Dane Brugler, who works for me at the Athletic, he sees Darnell as a second-round draft pick right now. So I mean, Darnell is in really good shape right now, and if he has a good week of practice here at Senior Bowl, he'll be in even better shape.
And that's what I was just going to say. I mean, leading into practice yesterday, I'm sure you watched practice yesterday. His video was all over the place, positive-wise. I mean, how much can he really get out of a week like this? How important is the Senior Bowl?
Because you're playing against the best competition. You're playing for NFL coaches. Yep. And what they want to see, it's the game is not the thing here. The practices are the thing. They want to see how you work, how you prepare, how you handle rep after rep. If you lose a rep, what do? Do you go in a hole? Do you go in a shell? Or do you okay, I got this? That stuff matters.
Yeah.
And because they want to see how you're – it's we talk about the draft as a big job interview, and that's exactly what it is. But think about every job interview you guys have ever done. Half the time they're feeling you out because they're like, can I live with this person day after day?
That's what I had to do on this show for these guys.
Exactly.
You had to figure out if you could live with us. That's by the way.
What's interesting, you brought up something, and I was recently talking to somebody about this, like those 5-star guys, those – in football, I'm not sure if it's top 100 or top 300, but the top 100 for sure.
And Darnell especially from West Virginia.
From West Virginia.
5-star guys don't come out of West Virginia.
No, absolutely not, man. But the level in which these guys, these coaches now down here have tracked these guys from those recruiting, although they'll say they haven't, the scouting department has. How important is that for those dudes? Like you said, when they get to college, they do have to perform quick.
Oh yeah. Well, I think mental toughness matters. So what Darnell did, dealing with not being a star, right? Dealing with not being. I mean, he wasn't really a starter. Until year 4?
Well, year three. Yes, when he really got in.
Yeah. So that's the part that they're looking at is how mentally tough are you? How did you handle that situation? And they have been following. NFL scouting departments aren't dumb. They understand that, like, the way 24/7 ranks the players, they're basically looking at it as they want 32 5-stars. That corresponds with the 32 spots in the first round of the NFL draft. And it's a 5-star means they think you can potentially be a first-round draft pick. 4-star means they think you're going to get drafted someday. That's just why there's a lot more of those.
Right.
And 4 stars, there's 300 plus 4 stars, sometimes 400 plus 4 stars, and there's not many 5 stars. So now that they do composite rankings and stuff, you'll see it go up to like maybe 36 or 37, but it's really rare. And so when you don't immediately pop in college, everybody's like, well, what's wrong? What's wrong with you? I guess you were misevaluated. Oh well.
Yep.
Moving on.
Yep, that's exactly how it goes. Who else has kind of come off your radar a little bit this week? I know we mentioned a kid earlier from Maryland. And Ohio State's
DeJuan Johnson.
Yeah.
He's so big. I mean, and the thing is, he played really well all season. Now he was playing opposite Paris Johnson, the left tackle, who may be the first tackle off the board.
Titans like that guy.
I would imagine. Well, not a great history of drafting left tackles.
I know.
Recently, so
very true.
I know.
But now, when they drafted Isaiah Wilson, I didn't expect that to happen either. I was like, he's a pretty good player in Georgia. So, but this is going to be an interesting. Peter Skronsky from Northwestern might be the highest drafted player here. Like because he could potentially work his way into the top 10. I know there are questions about his arm length, and it's actually pretty shockingly short for an offensive tackle, for an NFL offensive tackle. But if you watch his tape, and he played against really good defensive linemen in the Big Ten, it didn't seem to bother him. So.
The separator in these games, all-star games, like we're speaking about highly rated like offensive linemen, defensive linemen, some other skill, but like what you don't see is the high-rated wide receiver. Why don't those guys play in this game if you want to give a little knowledge to that, Andy? In these types of games.
I think a lot of them feel like they've put enough tape out there that they don't need – because, playing receiver, your tape's going to be a little bit different than playing on the line of scrimmage. Now – the guys who played in the SEC and the Big Ten on the line of scrimmage, their tape probably can carry them. Now, Stroncy, because of the arm length, you come to something like this to show, hey, this is not a big deal.
Okay.
But with some of these other guys, they've got the tape. Like, you don't need it.
Yeah.
So it's the little school guy. Like, I talked to Nick Saldivari from Old Dominion today, the offensive tackle, and he's like, yeah, I got to show what I can do against these people because they're not,
true.
The tape of me. Yes, I played really well when we played Virginia and Virginia Tech, but then you see more of it and rep after rep after rep, and that's very helpful.
I talked to McClendon Curtis yesterday after practice. First of all, very impressed by the young man. But
trying
what
to
are
be Cole Strange, another
I
first
know,
rounder
right?
from the
What are
box.
they doing at UT Chat that's just producing these O linemen?
They're projecting very well. Because that's the thing about this small school guys.
Yeah.
You're not getting those guys as finished products or even close to it. I talked to Cody Mock today, he was the right tackle at North Dakota State.
Yep.
He's potentially a second-round draft pick, could play his weight maybe even a little higher. And he was a 6'5", 220-pound high school quarterback who got recruited as a tight end, played basketball in high school.
Yeah.
He's now 6'6" and 310 pounds.
Wow.
Stromboli Day at the dining hall. He said was a big deal for him, and he said there might have been some days he put down 4 or 5 Strombolis in a single sitting.
Goodness.
So, did you find out if this was on purpose or he just found out he liked to eat?
He called them cheat days.
Okay.
He said he was trying to be reasonable the other days, but if you look at him, and this is something I felt like when I've gone to the combine in the last few years, like there are no fat offensive linemen anymore.
No.
Like that guy looks like. I bet if he stopped playing football tomorrow, within 3 months he'd weigh 225.
Wow.
He shrank.
Yeah.
Wow. Yep.
And he'd look like a basketball player.
Yep. 100%. The game has absolutely changed the whole.
But that
lot.
means that dude's an athlete.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, and DeJuan played, serious hoops.
Yeah.
I mean, he obviously
He doesn't look
now,
375.
Well, I'm not just trying to butter up somebody who's on the show here, but the level of freak athlete you have to be a good offensive lineman in the NFL is off the charts.
Preach, Andy.
Off the charts.
Preach,
Not really an
Andy.
athlete.
No, he wasn't speaking about me, okay?
Not
He
really
might have
an
been speaking
athlete.
about somebody else,
Charts
okay?
for
Oh,
the
yeah,
Titans
because
are
I
looking
played
for.
O-line.
Andy,
And
so
Will
what
did.
are we doing for
Yeah,
dinner
distance
again?
runner at Tennessee.
paid for it.
God.
Well,
Not about that.
I'm having shrimp and grits, and I'm not eating for a while. That's I'm conserving my calories because I'm trying to stay. I got a little
I've
control
shrank
during the
some.
holidays, so I gotta get down another 10 pounds or so. I in our gym at home, they had everybody write on the whiteboard what their goals are.
Yeah.
I go to a place like Average Joe's gym in dodgeball. That's so we all know each other. So they're like, yeah, you got to write your goal on the whiteboard. So I just wrote 6-pack and then drew a picture of some abs, and then I'm gonna add a picture of a 6-pack of beer underneath it to give myself an either or.
I like that, Andy. That's good.
No doubt, Andy.
Andy, I wanted to ask you about this quarterback group here, and Jim Nagy said might be the first time in 7 years. Well, will be the first time in 7 years he hasn't had a first-round quarterback here at this Senior Bowl. In such a copycat league, it feels like everyone's going to be looking for Brock Purdy again.
Yep.
Maybe not as Mr. Irrelevant, but somebody in day 2 or 3 that could come in and do a job.
The next Brock Purdy might be somebody who's here. Jay Kaner from Fresno State.
There you go.
Jay Kaner is a dog.
Yep.
Like, just go watch the last 5 minutes of the 2021 UCLA-Fresno State game, and that dude is tough as nails.
Playing hurt, too.
Well, he played hurt all this year, too, so he broke his ankle against USC in Game 3. And they told him, you're done for the season.
Yeah.
He went and got a second opinion, found a guy who's like, well, I've actually not seen many breaks like this. Conceivably, you could come back in like 3 to 4 weeks. And so he did. And he's like, I was 75, 80%, but I wasn't going to not play.
Heck no! Wow, that right there is Brett Favre level of toughness.
Yeah, he's
man.
a dog, and he does not look like the prototypical NFL quarterback, but neither does Brock.
No, he didn't.
Brock's 6 feet tall. He weighed about 210 pounds, I think, coming out of college.
You see the way Nick Saban ripped his college profile. Pretty much told him your arm's not strong. You did this. You're slow. I was just like, goodness, Saban.
Yeah, I talked to Brock between the Shrine Bowl and the Combine last year, and the confidence level was off the charts.
Mm-hmm.
And it was interesting because I went back to that interview a couple weeks ago just to see
what
did I miss.
Yeah.
And here's one thing I missed with Brock that I thought was really interesting and had not thought of. So Tom Manning was his offensive coordinator at Iowa State. Tom Manning got there after Brock's freshman year. Manning had been on the Colts staff as the tight ends coach. Well, who was the offensive coordinator for the Colts at the time? Nick Sirianni.
Yeah.
So he basically brought Nick Sirianni's offense, which is not like San Francisco's offense because like Nick Sirianni runs RPOs and stuff like that. But what Nick Sirianni does do, they have very long play calls, just like Kyle Shanahan's offense does, and they have a ton of pre-snap motion, just like Kyle Shanahan's offense does. So he managed that for 3 years in college. Not many quarterbacks in college have to do that now. And so he was one of the few, I think, who as a rookie would have been able to just walk in and take that offense over because that sort of, especially the play calls, like being able to spit out all those words that you just heard in your head. And now he didn't at Iowa State, he had to take the hand signals, translate them into those, and then give them to his teammates. Wow. So he was probably thought it was easier with the radio on his helmet.
So let me ask you this for a guy like him moving forward, because there's an attachment to San Francisco and Tennessee now, with Trey Lance being there and Tennessee having a personnel guy from the Niners.
Yep.
Do you still say it's Brock's team? Or do you say, nah, Trey Lance is there to say the Titans need to end that conversation?
I think there's a good chance that Brock's the guy.
Okay.
And especially if there are other teams in the league that feel there is value for Trey Lance. Because if you feel like you can get something out of that. Because let's be honest, if you think Brock's the guy, and listen, if that's what Kyle Shanahan feels, I kind of trust his opinion on that.
I'm with that.
And so – you got lucky with a 7th-round draft pick. Let's straight up, you got lucky. So if you could then the Trey Lance thing, you traded up to get him. He's a first-rounder. But if you can get some value out of him, if somebody's going to give you some draft capital, like real draft capital for that, then go do that.
Is there a place you think Trey would fit?
That I don't know because
we didn't
Trey's
see
a little
ton.
college tape.
Yeah.
You know, remember the North Dakota State season got canceled,
Yep.
so he's really 1 year as a starter in the FCS, and so it's so hard to project anything with him.
Yep.
Andy Staples, our guest this morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Good to see you in person, man.
I know. It was fun.
This is awesome.
Now I got to go to Nashville and see you guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you haven't been there since 2017.
I know, right?
It's crazy.
Listen,
it's different
monster now.
Clark Lee.
Oh, yes.
Let's go win. Now, they won some games last year.
They did?
Yeah, they
Let's
did.
go win
They
some
sure
more
did.
games, and now I got to go up do a feature.
Yep.
Give my guy Barton Simmons some shine.
No pressure, Clark.
Absolutely.
Let's go.
Absolutely.
Love it. Always appreciate the time with Andy Staples. And coming up, more headlines around the NFL on a busy day next on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, 104.5 The Zone.
It's Ramon Foster for myPhDWeightLoss.com. And right now I was actually just talking to my guy Andy Staples about his process of losing weight. He said he got something for me, but I got something for y'all. It's myPhDWeightLoss.com. I told you guys I've lost over 40 pounds, closer to 50 right now, and yeah, I'm feeling good. The process is unique for me. Y'all know Buck Rosin's doing it with me, and his plan is way different than mine. I say it all the time, too. Summertime fine happens in the winter, and it's still cold outside because I know it's frigid in Nashville. So go ahead and get a plan specifically for you so you can get those LBs off. The holiday season is done. Spring break is coming up soon, and it's about to get hot. Let's be good for the summer and just overall health, too. That is the benefit of it because on average, most male clients lose between between 3 to 5 pounds if done right, and female clients lose between 2 to 3. So if this sounds like a plan for you and you're tired of you just being the old you, create a new you by going to myphdweightloss.com, and be sure to tell them that Ramon sent you.
It's Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors on 104.5 The Zone. Our trip to Mobile, Alabama, where the seafood is good and the antacid does better. Presented by Scoreboard Bar and Grill, Two Rivers Ford, and Mitsubishi Electric with Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson. I'm Will Bowling, joined by Buck Rising, who is also here at Mobile today and tomorrow.
Bucko!
Hello. Is this my first appearance?
Yes.
With the new iteration of the
now,
show?
we made an appearance.
I was going to say,
on
we
your
made appearances
show,
on your show, but
because
you
we
have not
took
made one of
over it.
ours.
Oh, yes, because I was late.
You know
that
what?
does happen from time to time.
Today will actually be my maybe first time on second time on Blaine and Mickey too. So I'm proud of that today, Buck. So look at us with first today.
The disrespect from our respective teammates at this point. Lucas, this is what it takes. Me literally being right here, just be like, we've filled it with everybody else today. Let's just grab this bum. He's the last person left in the building.
I know. I asked him a second ago, hey, you want me to go get this guy? I was like, no, we're good. We'll get him tomorrow. Hey, Buck, you want to come on since you're here? It's like, damn it.
I'm here. Lovely to be on.
So I know you got a chance to catch up with Darnell Wright yesterday. He was just on with us in hour 3. For a guy that only did one interview his entire Tennessee career.
That's crazy.
You can't really tell.
Well, it's interesting because I don't know him personally. This is the most face-to-face interaction that I've had with him. And he's got a good personality. He's obviously a mountain of a human being, and you forget that he's 21 years old. So, yeah, maybe he's not, the most comfortable necessarily in doing the media settings. And, I don't know what other scared SIDs are running around the University of Tennessee campus trying to play defense against the Tennessee media down there. But, yeah, I know the conversation that you guys had with him was good. Certainly enjoyed my interaction with him yesterday, and I think every defensive lineman who was working against him in purely the run-blocking drills did not enjoy their interaction with Darnell Wright yesterday. He's out there whooping some ass. It was good stuff to see.
It does seem like he's a different kind of lineman from what the Titans have drafted. We had Jeff Schwartz on a couple weeks ago who basically said there are so many teams that draft the traits guy more so than the guy on the offensive line who just blocks people. Yeah. Darnell Wright blocks people. He didn't give up a sack in his last 19 games at Tennessee. It seems like we're about to learn Rand Carthon's type at a lot of different positions through this draft process and through the first free agent process with the Titans. Darnell Wright, to me, would be a deviation from what John Robinson was typically getting out of offensive linemen.
So that's an interesting thought process. Now, getting out of offensive linemen versus what they were drafted to do
that's also true.
Is a different conversation, I think, in the last couple of years. Certainly that's been the case because, just to go back to the first big screw-up on the offensive line for John was Isaiah Wilson, but that dude was absolutely caving people's skulls in at Georgia. I mean, that was not anything that indicated a lack of physicality, a lack of ability. Certainly, it didn't pan out at the pros. Now, Radin's the tape was different. That's a left tackle versus a right tackle. The level of competition, certainly in North Dakota State, is different than what it was in the SEC or now the pros.
And playing time.
Playing time, absolutely, given the COVID restrictions that they had at North Dakota State. So I understand what you're saying from what he was getting out of those players, but I do think that the intention was still there to be bigger and stronger than every other team because that's what they were doing at their best is they just, literally the best play that they had for the best playoff run that they had was run left for basically the entire playoff run. And, if Tannehill bleeps around and gets 76 yards passing and 2 touchdowns, then we're cooking, baby.
You went to the American team practice yesterday. We went to National. We'll be out there today. But anybody you saw specifically that caught your eye that you're like, okay, Titans need a guy like that.
Oh, man.
Because there were some really talented guys on that American team.
Yeah. I spent most of my time watching the offensive linemen, as I'm sure we all did at this point.
See?
So did we.
Well, you know what's crazy, Buck? You say that, and I'm sure people are like, God, there's offensive line talk. But, where do most of the GMs and personnel and coaches go to?
Oh, the offensive, defensive line, especially when they do the one-on-one stuff.
Everybody flocks to them.
It's actually fun to watch.
No, absolutely.
It is, and most coaches will tell you this is a small man's game, but it's ran by big men. And I think that's why you see all the personnel flocking to them.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was hard for me to take my eyes off of both physically and from a performance standpoint from DeJuan Jones. My God, was he was probably the most individually, regardless of position, dominant player that we saw yesterday. Now, it's different, right? At Senior Bowl versus some of the other stuff that you'll see during the offseason process, certainly the combine, because these dudes have pads on, like they can actually get into it. But the work that dude did, I thought he's somebody who certainly stands to make himself some money because a guy that size, what is he, 6'8", 350 plus?
370.
Yeah, I think he's close to 6'9".
So he's out here lying on the roster sheet.
89-inch wingspan.
7.5 foot. He is just a ridiculously impressive human being. And the mobility part of it, Ramon, from what I was able to see, it's something that obviously the scouts had questions about. The coaching staff is going to have questions about. He will go through pass blocking drills specifically today, so I'm curious to see how he manages that, because the mobility element of a human being simply that size is the first thing that comes to mind. Now, the Titans have a right tackle. You asked me about Titan stuff, but I think that all options are worth exploring at this stage of the game.
He played hoops. That's why. I mean, he's just so athletic.
Yeah.
The other side of that too with DeJuan Jones is the kid from Ohio State. It's yesterday they did put him in some situations where he had to pass that against smaller guys.
Yeah,
I thought he held his own too. In the sense of just figuring out, man, look, just size him up. Like, that's the smartest thing a guy can do. It's just like a fast dude not showing he's fast. Well, why the heck are you out here then? You know what I'm saying? And he did a good job of that, I thought, yesterday. I'll try to pay attention to more skilled people today, Buck, I guess.
No, but I mean, one could hardly fault you for not doing that, because this is not typically, and that's the case for the Senior Bowl anyway, this is not the place where the best wide receivers come to practice. So it's understandable. One, from the physicality standpoint, you're going to gravitate towards the offensive and defensive line anyway. There are some good players. Rashi Rice, forgive me if I've mispronounced the first name. He was out there yesterday during the American team practice. Really enjoyed watching him work against the defensive backs. Wide receivers obviously going to be a point of discussion this year, because they need to get Robert Woods respectfully the hell off this roster and figure out what else they're going. I mean, honestly, I do mean that respectfully. It's not a personal attack. It's just like it's best for both sides at this point. Like, they just have to do something different with the wide receiver position. And there are a lot of interesting, from a size and physicality standpoint, because that's what's previously been their type. I can't speak to what Rand Carthon is going to look like.
Did you see the Nathaniel Dell kid?
Yes, I did.
What was he like in person?
165.
In person, he's just every bit of 5'8".
So I'm tall. I'm like his height.
You are his height. From a, guys that size, obviously, you're looking to see how they win, how they create separation. I thought he did that well. I thought that there was some footwork stuff that the coaching staff definitely gravitated towards him on working with him on to try and improve some of his technique. I think that he needs to work on catching the ball with his hands away from his body. There did seem to be a tendency. Now, listen, it's their first practice. You guys talked to Darnell Wright. I talked to him yesterday. He said he was a bit jittery.
Yeah.
So it's more. I think today and tomorrow are the best possible times to truly evaluate what these guys are capable of, because one day it's only one day, but it does still establish a comfort level for these guys, especially the quarterbacks, who guys who are going to look for the opportunity to earn themselves some money where they're currently projected as mostly 4th and 5th round picks.
I wanted to ask you about the quarterbacks, because there's not going to be a first rounder here for the first time in 7 years. Andy Staples was on with us a minute ago, and we basically had the conversation with him that everybody's looking to copycat Brock Purdy. And especially when you look at the Titans' perspective, you go get a developmental guy like Malik Willis, who plays a completely different system. We saw the evidence. If it's hard to get that guy ready to just do a job at a moment's notice, like Brock Purdy did, obviously, in San Francisco, and not only did the job, but excelled in it. A lot of talk about Jake Haener down here as the guy that is a little bit undersized, 6'1", started as Jake Browning's backup at Washington in 2018, knew Jeff Tedford since he was 11 years old, transfers to Fresno State, and goes from scout team quarterback to a guy who beat UCLA in a game-winning drive in the final 2 minutes. Got that dog in him a little bit. I don't know. Like, how closely are you watching some of these quarterbacks, specifically him, this week?
That bulldog in him?
That's right.
By the way, he destroyed my Cougars in the bowl game.
Yes,
I saw
did.
plenty of him. I didn't need to see him
PTSD
anymore.
He's kind of nasty
He
in
is.
the 2 minute situations, and he was speaking today at the podium situation that we have across the aisle from us in this ballroom where we broadcast live from the Mobile Convention Center. The quarterbacks are fascinating to me, and I talked to Rand Carthon about this yesterday. Like, what is your process and just generally the quarterback situation? Because I talked about this, I think, on 3HL earlier this week. Malik Willis took up all the air down here last year. He was the talk of the Senior Bowl entirely. But here's the thing, Ramon. We are watching this from a practice standpoint.
Yeah.
He is a physically impressive player, both from an arm talent standpoint, mobility. The weather was only good down here one day, so we really only got one day to truly watch him outside, because once they take him inside to the indoor practice facility, which is possible tomorrow, we don't get to go. Media is not allowed to go. But when they got into the meeting rooms from a quarterback standpoint, that's where you started to see somebody like Kenny Pickett separate himself into the only first-rounder from that class, which is obviously something that media doesn't have access to unless, you're very well sourced. So I think those are the kind of things to kind of keep in mind when you're talking about the quarterback position. Not only the physical performance on the practice field that is going to be discussed in video, and you're going to see it all over social media, but how much these guys are doing the work to benefit themselves in the conference rooms when they meet with these teams. Hainer is somebody who I think, as you mentioned, not physically impressive, but does enough. And I think has the capability, and you're starting to hear that buzz around him, that this is somebody who teams are going to gravitate towards as a competent backup type player.
In your conversation with Rand yesterday, Rand Carthon, Titans GM, what did you take from him? I know you had some specific questions for him, but what's your take on his role now with this team? Or what to expect, I guess.
Deferential is not the word that I think Titans fans want to hear, but he seems to almost inherently defer to, I'm here to work with what's in place. Like, I talked about this yesterday on my show. The entire scouting staff, the entire front office structure, beyond John Robinson, is still in place.
That's correct.
And, you don't want to scrap everything because they're still working through the draft process.
They're still working,
I think it's good that Rand Carthon is giving them the opportunity to kind of show him,
trial by fire,
what you've done. I know you're not necessarily here to account for the sins of the person who you were employed by, but it does seem that he is going first and foremost with Mike on how Mike views things and then what he can add to the situation. It's not a hands-off is the wrong term to use, because I don't think
he's just watching then right now.
He's in observation mode, I think, first and foremost at this time, because it's still fairly early in the process.
I agree with that, man. I think that's the smartest approach, because the clean house right now, you're left with nothing.
What do you stand to benefit from that?
Well, and he said, first and foremost, I am trying to get on the same page as Mike Vrabel, because he said that was the first thing he wanted to do when he arrived in Tennessee. I feel like they are guys that could complement each other, because Rand said it himself. I'm not just going to sit here and say, I want it this way, this way, this way. He's like, I want to listen to Mike, but sometimes I'll challenge him. So I thought that's it. I like the back and forth, what we've heard at least from the two.
Well, God knows Mike needs it.
Buck Rising coming up after us in just a couple of minutes here on 104.5 The Zone from Mobile. What do you got coming up today?
Well, you guys had Hendon Hooker on. I have a conversation with Hendon Hooker that we're going to play a little later. We are going to have Mike Giardi of the NFL Network, because Tom Brady decided to just nuke the entire conference room and retire in the middle of all this between D'Amico Ryans and Sean Payton. It's been a bleep show. So we're going to talk a lot about the coaching situations, and obviously I don't have to talk about Tom Brady anymore after today, which is sweet, merciful bliss.
Thank goodness.
Well, J.J. Watt did get in on the celebration. So it was like, welcome to retirement. It's like, J.J., not your day.
J.J., sit down.
You have your day.
Your day, Watt.
Get in there and make it about you.
Not your day. It's honestly it's a pissing contest between the two of them to see who can make it more their day.
If he wants it to make it about him, just get a sports talk radio show.
Which I'm sure he will.
Come on down, Tommy. That's the only person I'll agree to co-host with.
Well, Lucas is done.
Lucas
no
is
deal
shambles,
for you.
Good.
All right, we'll wrap up the show. Coming up next, Remote Kayla and Will, 104.5 The Zone.
If you have a wet basement or crawl space, it's time to call United Structural Systems. We've all heard about these guys for a long time and for good reasons. They've served Middle Tennessee since 1994, and they've helped thousands of satisfied residential customers. They are the go-to company when it comes to foundation repair and waterproofing. And if you have a wet basement or crawl space, you don't have to put up with that. Water intrusion and moisture can give you all sorts of problems down the road, and you want to get this fixed. It could be because you have poor drainage or surface water flooding over the walls, or underwater pressure forcing water into your basement, or it could be a plumbing leak. You just don't know. But the team at United Structural Systems will find out why you have a wet basement or crawl space and will give you a plan to fix it. And if you decide to move forward, you don't have to pay a dime until the work is done and you are satisfied. So get that free estimate from the people I trust. Go to USSTN.com. That's USSTN.com, or call them at 615-227-2275. United Structural Systems.
One final segment on your Wednesday morning of Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by all Four Seasons Garage Doors. Appreciate Hendon Hooker, Darnell Wright, Andy Staples for stopping by to chat with us this morning. We'll have Coach Mack coming up tomorrow. See if we can track down a wild Jimmy Wyatt.
Jimmy.
In the wild tomorrow as well. And hoping to have the executive director of the Senior Bowl, Jim Nagy, on with us tomorrow morning as well.
Yeah. Big day. I mean, today went fast. Big news day, too.
If you missed our conversations with Hendon Hooker and Darnell Wright, those are going to be posted pretty quickly after the show on our podcast feed. Ramon, Kayla, and Will, wherever you download podcasts on Apple, Spotify, Google Play, and Stitcher. Really good stuff from Hendon, everything from what he's working on in the process with NFL general managers and head coaches, who he's heard from, which does include the Tennessee Titans, and his impression of Rand Carthon, and then the fact that he's going to be rocking a Joe Milton jersey, and he wants him to autograph it at the Orange and White game.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun getting the back-to-back Vols. I mean, couldn't have asked for a better hour there. Really impressed with Hendon Hooker, and I know he's impressing a lot of NFL front offices just with the GMs and head coaches out here this week. I know he can't get on the field and perform, but he definitely is out there showing what he's all about, and hopefully that draft stock continues to rise, because it seems like with the injury, he's fast, on track in terms of how it's healing. I mean, it's impressive.
The injuries are different these days. I know it used to be career-ending when it came down to ACLs or those ligaments and stuff like that. I'm glad for him because I do think he could really play himself into a really good position. And the good thing about, having your later-round guys start and play in games, even with Ty Huntley, we joked around with it, like he's in a Pro Bowl.
Right.
He helped Baltimore stay above board. You know what I'm saying? So the first round is what everybody's looking for, but I think Hendon's situation now with the ACL kind of puts him behind the 8 ball as far as performance and timing and testing. So he's an NFL quarterback.
And I think you would have liked Tyler Huntley better if he could have not only kept it above board, but kept the football over the goal line instead of on the ground for a 100-yard fumble return for the Cincinnati Bengals.
You know what?
Lesser of two evils.
I forgot all about that one. Sure did. Yep.
And by the way, that picture with Darnell Wright, them boys from Tennessee over there, that was probably fun for you, huh?
I'm happy for Darnell, man, because as Andy Staples said earlier, you go into college with expectation and it doesn't necessarily hit for you. And he waited, and that I think that's going to be a part of his payoff on this next level.
Well, coming up tonight, you can hear it on 104.5 The Zone, Vol Network coverage at 5:30 for Tennessee and Florida in Gainesville on the hardwood. Tennessee, of course, coming off the 11-point win over Texas. Olivier Kamwa, a career-high 27 points, and Zakai Ziegler with his third career double-double in that one. Tennessee and Florida, and the first time for Tennessee against new Florida head coach Todd Golden, who was a St. Mary's guard who played against Rick Barnes in Texas in January of 2008.
Wow.
That's how young he is. So looking forward to that. We'll recap a little bit of that tomorrow and close out our final show of the week in Mobile tomorrow morning. But in the meantime, time for Inky Johnson. A little bit of midweek motivation to send you on your way. We are back at it tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. The Buck Rising Show is next. And in the meantime, here's Ink with a little bit of midweek motivation.
Like often in life, when things don't go the way we want it to go or we encounter something, immediately we want to understand it, right? Immediately. We want to understand it. We want to figure it out. We want to know, hey, man, what is this, right? And sometimes something can be so tough, can be so hard, right, that you're not going to understand it. I'm talking about it can be so real that you're not going to understand. It can be so real, you can't go to the Bible and get a verse for it. It can be so real that you're not going to understand it. You just got to survive it, doc. Right? And by surviving it, the lessons come. The blessings come. The perspective comes. Most importantly and hopefully, the peace comes. Sometimes things are going to be so tough. Stop fighting it. Stop trying to understand it. Just survive it. Take all that energy and just survive it. Bro, day by day, moment by moment, situation by situation,